You're listening to The Pete Shepard Show.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to another edition of The Pete Shepard Show right here on the Coastal Sports Network. How's everybody doing this morning on this terrific Tuesday? Hopefully you're off to a great start wherever you are around the country and around the world. We have a big following, and I don't know, it seems like 95% of the countries around every continent except Antarctica. We're going to try to fix that, do a remote out there at some point as well. Man, lots to talk about today. This is going to be a gigantic show. It's going to go by like that, like that. Do it with me. Like that. Huge show. Lots of NFL news. Yes, I am going to. We are going to discuss Deion Sanders. Didn't really get to it yesterday. We're going to get to it today. He's being such a freaking douchebag, bully, hypocrite. There's only one person I've seen defend him so far, Dan Orlovsky, believe it or not. But we've got a lot of video we're going to play today. CeeDee Lamb, finally. You know, we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, Ja'Marr Chase, Brandon Ayuk, and screwing up people's fantasy drafts. But CeeDee Lamb inks it yesterday right after the show. Of course, it didn't happen during the show. It happened right after. Adam Schefter broke the news a little bit after the show. And he signed for a $136 million deal. Makes him the second highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. The deal includes $38 million signing bonus as well. But then I saw one of those other breakdowns of all these big contracts. And when you factor in all the taxes and the jock tax and all that stuff, I thought it came out to a measly $18 million a year. It's a weird thing. I know some of these contracts look freaking crazy. When you start breaking down the money and the taxes they have to choose, they have to pay, it ends up not being as much as what people think, which is why the guaranteed money is so big. So lots of NFL news coming out of various camps. A lot of cuts yesterday. Toughest day. Bill Belichick on McAfee show. We'll talk about it. I talked about why paying taxes in Massachusetts as well as can be a deterrent for some NFL free agents, but it's not just Massachusetts. It's a lot of other states, not in Florida or Texas. Try going to work in California, see what those taxes are like. We'll have an MLB rundown. Lots of college football news besides Deion Sanders. Let's see. Miami and Florida coming up this Saturday as well. Week 1 starts, I believe, on Thursday. So the guest list today, we'll have Bill Burke coming up at 8:30 this morning, talking about the Patriots quarterback situation with Drake May and Jacoby Brissett. It's a real hot topic of what they should do. You can make a case either way. I get it. I want Drake May out there. I'm just so sick and tired of people. You go out there and he's going to get clobbered and everything else. All right. There's been a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, their rookie season, that have gone out and got banged up a little bit. It happens. I just don't know. I want my best. I think the best players in every sport should play. The best players should play. He's the best. He's one of the best players. He's better than Jacoby Brissett. I want him to play. So Bill Burke at 8:30. We'll talk about that. The lovely and talented Mia O'Brien will join us from Jacksonville. We'll talk about not only Florida State's opening loss to Georgia Tech. We'll get into the Jaguars as well and any surprise cuts that have happened there or she sees looming. We'll talk about that with her. She's always great to talk about all the issues around the National Football League and college football. And then at 9:30, Larry Schechter. You might remember him. He was on Angel's show, Martinez and Company, not too long ago. He's written a book called The History of Fantasy Sports and the Stories of the People That Made It Happen. So we'll have him on at 9:30 for a few minutes, talk about his book and fantasy. This is another, right now, this is probably the biggest week for fantasy football, right? Biggest week for fantasy football because it's after you have cut down day, basically. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for like one team that already has their 53-man roster set. All the draft picks made it. And there's other teams that will follow suit as well. So there'll be lots of cuts. We'll give you the surprises, or if we find out about any today, we will let you know. Thanks for checking us out, as always, across the Coastal Networks, the Coastal Sports Network video platform. Follow me on Twitter X at PShep326, on Facebook at SR1029 The Game and SR1029thegame.com, ION TV, CSN Florida, Spotify, Rumble, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. And call or text at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Already got the sniffles. I always get the sniffles during the show because there's a fan behind me. The tropical setting you see behind me, in case you don't know, is fake. No, there are views like that I do go to, but just for show purposes, just so you know, because some people actually think it's real. And yeah, about a few miles away from me, it's that way. But for the sake of the show, it's real. All right, we're saying good morning to Angel Martinez, as always, executive producer, host extraordinaire, host of Angel of Martinez and Company, and just an all-around swell guy. Good morning, Angel. How are you?
Good morning, Pete. I am good.
You didn't come up on my screen. You didn't come up.
I don't know why. Let me go
People
back.
are hearing you, but when I don't see you as part of where it's supposed to be, I can only because we're big in the video platform here. And you still there you go. Boom. There you are.
Good morning, Pete, and good morning, everybody out there in the digital radio land. As we keep hearing more and more stories about how digital is becoming the new way of life. But what do we know? But anyways,
oh, we know a lot. We know a lot. We know that terrestrial radio is dying and in the shitter for a lot of companies. That's what we know.
Yeah.
But that's why we do what we do, because we don't have to answer to anybody.
Sure don't.
And we have fun. And we have a lot of fun and informative, and there's more people that want to be involved with this network. It's been great, and pretty soon we might have to take like 10 commercial breaks, Angel, because so many people want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And if you do want to be a part of it, just you can email me or Angel or whatever. And I mean, wherever you are around the country and around the world, it doesn't matter, because we have sponsors all over the place. We have sponsors in New England. We have sponsors down here, and wherever you may be. It does not matter. We will. The man over there, right there, produces unbelievable spots, and trust me, you get way more bang for your buck with us than anywhere else. And the audience that we have is growing every single day. It's been growing leaps and bounds the last couple of weeks, especially. So we're kicking ass and taking names. So how's the weather up there today, Angel? Pretty good down here. We only had one little boom yesterday around 6 o'clock. Other than that, pretty good.
We got a good amount of rain, which we needed desperately. But we got like heavy rains. I want to say around 3-ish, and then again around 7. And then today we're expecting more around. I think because we got Debbie went to go work out yesterday, and it was about 10:30 when the first waterfall came down. But we're expecting more today, I think around 3. And then I think the crazy lightning strikes we're supposed to get around 6 to 7 p.m. tonight. So that should be a fireworks show there all over the place. And by the way, for those who tend to forget, and again, November will be a big day. You guys know without me saying it. Take a look as far as the differences between yesteryear and what goes on today, because Netflix actually has the documentary of 9/11. If you guys have not watched it, holy molies, so much more that you end up learning about stuff that goes on. But it's pretty good. It's really informative. Of course, the part that we all can't stand is obviously watching the Twin Towers come down. But as far as informational, there's a lot of stuff. So Netflix, you know what, Pete? Netflix, I think, really needs to kind of get together with us, because Lord knows we mentioned enough shows about Netflix coming up.
Well, yeah, all of it. I mean, I've seen just about every documentary out there about 9/11. It's hard for me to watch them anymore, because I've seen every single one, whether it be on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, whatever, Discovery Channel. I've seen every single one, and it's hard for me to look at it again when seeing those towers come down. I remember being on the air that day. But anyway,
Yeah.
It's certainly, you should never forget. We should never forget. The biggest thing is we should never forget what happened, and hopefully we'll never come under attack again.
Now, on the flip side of that, when is the one from Hulu, the Aaron Hernandez?
This September 17th, I believe.
Okay.
September 17th. Yeah, that looks really good. Can't wait to see Arnold Schwarzenegger Jr. playing Tim Tebow. And I don't know who's playing Urban Meyer. I don't know if there's a Belichick thing out there. I don't know who's playing Tom Brady. I don't know the cast. It's probably out there, but I'm not sure what they're going to focus on, other than Tebow and Aaron Hernandez, who's played by, what is his name? Josh Rivera, I think
so.
I can't remember who it is, but yeah, that's going to be absolutely fascinating. Also, Angel, let me tell you about a great guest list coming up for the rest of the week. Get my files here. My secretary with this beautiful loose leaf notebook.
Darn it! I should have had a typewriter effect like back in the day.
So today, as I said, we have Bill Burt, Mia O'Brien, and Larry Schechter coming up as well. Tomorrow, we will have Bill Spiros from the Boston Herald at 8:30, and then John Meter-Perrell at 9:05. Really get into BC and Florida State, which is coming up this week, amongst other things, and we'll see how the Seminoles will rebound against an up-and-coming Boston College Eagle football team. On Thursday, we're going to have Jay. What's his last? I can't read my own chicken scratch. A guy who called in yesterday, not called in, but got to us yesterday. Jay.
Flannery.
Yes.
Flannery.
Yes.
Flannery.
Yes, he's going to be joining us on Thursday at 8:30.
Yeah, he's super.
And he used to be basically like Tom Brady's bodyguard at Michigan. ESPN and Sports Illustrated have written stories about him. He's got some fascinating insight into the world of college football and even in the NFL. Some really good stuff. So looking forward to talking to Jay. That's on Thursday. And then my man Wig, and those of you remember when I was over to ESPN Southwest Florida, Wig would call in every Wednesday. I think he probably still does over there. One of the most fascinating people. He is absolutely hysterical, not just because he's a huge Miami Hurricane fan. I saw him on video this week amongst a bunch of Florida State people in a bar. He's from down here in Southwest Florida. Absolutely hysterical. If you know Wig, you love him. He's going to join us via video. None of this phone and shit. He's going to join us via video coming up at 9:05 on Thursday. And then Friday, before I take off, we will have a show before I leave for Gainesville right after the show. We'll do a serious breakdown of Miami and Florida. Kid from Naples on the team, by the way. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about him. I wrote his name down. He's a cornerback for Devin Moore. Cornerback is his third year, I believe, at the University of Florida, but he's from down here in Naples. He plays for the Gators. I'm sure there's tons of Florida kids, obviously, that are involved in this game coming up. But so on Friday, we'll break that. It'll be a big breakdown. Jimmy the Beef Guy's coming on at 9:05 and talking about some what you can do, the catering stuff, and anything new that he has. It's just we're going to have him on like once a month. Great sponsor of ours, Jimmy the Beef Guy, at 9:05. And then talked to her last night. She's so sweet. I love her to death. My good friend Catherine Tappan will join us on Friday at 9:30. At 9:30, she will be in Ann Arbor as she is a sideline reporter for NBC Football Night or College Football Night. So she will be on with us at 9:30 from Ann Arbor as the Michigan Wolverines, defending national champions, will take on Fresno State. So always good to have Catherine on. She's just absolutely fantastic. So she'll be on via video with us on Friday. That's a pretty good lineup, Angel, for the rest of the week.
That is a good lineup. And we can get her post-Olympics update.
Yes.
When she was out there. So that's going to be fantastic.
Yep. She was very good. And she's been a dear friend ever since she started covering hockey for Nesson way back in the day. And, I don't try to abuse our friendship as far as getting her on, because if I had my choice, she'd be on once a week. But she is very, very good. She's always been very good to me as far as saying, anytime if she's not traveling, that she would come on with us. So she's coming on Friday. Very excited for that, and we'll get her thoughts on not only Michigan and Fresno State, but thoughts on the Big Ten. And she does a great job, and I believe she is with Ian Eagle and Todd Blackledge as well. We'll be calling the game on NBC coming up on Saturday night. All right. Lots going on. Let's begin. I cannot stand this ass kissing by some for Deion Sanders. Not everybody. I'd say that most of the country, especially the media, is against it. Banning reporters. By the way, I reached out to him and Sean Keeler of the Denver Post. He's the guy that's been banned from asking him questions. I swear to God, somebody said the entire media that covers University of Colorado should just walk out. They shouldn't even, don't ask him anything. Don't ask him anything. Now, this guy, Keeler, is allowed to go to the game. He's just not allowed. He can write whatever he wants, but he's not allowed to ask Deion questions. Deion being a hypocrite and a bully once again, regardless of what anybody says. It's such bullshit. And they let him get away with it. So, interesting take yesterday. If we could scroll down, Angel, on my Twitter feed on what happened or on Around the Horn yesterday. This was obviously a big discussion for the panel. Everybody needs to hear it. And it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. It's what I'm thinking. I don't know why Dan Orlovsky is defending this guy, for what reason. We'll play that afterwards too. But here's Around the Horn about Deion Sanders. Grow the fuck up, buddy.
With this,
It's
it's
just a
one thing
football
for
coach.
Sanders to refuse to take questions on his own. How do you view the university singling out a journalist to censor him?
Courtney, the school I attended as a freshman that gave me such a springboard to this marvelous career I've carved out really disappointed me here. It's one thing for Deion to have a battle with a columnist. Coaches get into it with reporters and columnists all the time. When the whole university, when the whole athletic department says he can't talk to anybody here with our football program, what they've done is taken a local story and made it national and made the school look completely foolish and as childish as Deion tends to be at times.
And doing it before they've even played a down of football this year. That's some self-inflicted wounds if I've ever seen it. David Dennis Jr., how do you see the media ban that CU Athletics is putting out on the Denver Post columnist?
Yeah, this is inexcusable and another example of dictatorial policy from Deion Sanders when it comes to journalists. You got to remember, at Jackson State, he banned a reporter for reporting on a domestic violence issue with one of the players. And now you have a situation where the school is backing him and banning somebody for writing columns about Deion Sanders as a coach. Colorado has a journalism department. It's been there for 100 years. How do you look at those students and explain to them that you're teaching journalism when you have when the same institution is banning reporters for doing their job?
Frank Iasola, to you.
Yeah, Tim was part of that first graduating class. I think what it tells you is Deion's going to have a really difficult time repeating as Sportsman of the Year. That's for sure. It's so weak on the school. It's weak on him. Here's the guy that filmed, talking to those leftover players, humiliating them publicly. Yet when the columnist comes after him, his reaction is to try to censor them and cut them off. I love Deion as a player, both in football and baseball, but as a coach, he needs to grow up a little bit.
And Lindsay Theory, to you.
Frank took my joke. But that withstanding, TJ Simers, the late great TJ Simers, I'm really happy for Deion Sanders that they did not encounter each other. But that statement that was put out by Boulder, look, they called him Coach Prime in his statement. His name is not Coach Prime. It is Deion Sanders, Coach Sanders, Deion Sanders. Let's just start there because they right there are illustrating the entire issue is that the world revolves around Coach Prime. But again, that's not professional on their part. It is Deion Sanders, and he is the head coach of the university, of the football team, and he should be open to the same criticism as everybody else.
By yourself.
Yep.
Excellent. I mean, I think we all feel the same way. And I would, if I were covering that team, like hell, I'm going to call Coach Prime. No, you're Deion Sanders. You're just a football coach. You're a great football player, great baseball player, great athlete. You're just a football coach. You're not the be-all, end-all. The game will go on without you. You're such a goddamn hypocrite and just, being a bully. And shame on the University of Colorado. And she's right. Lindsay's right about putting it in a statement that you call him Coach Prime. The guy's your name's Deion Sanders. Enough of this shit. Just ridiculous. Yeah, you can ban me too. I'd like to come to your press conference, Deion, Coach Prime, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. I'll come to your press conference. How about taking off the goddamn sunglasses and look at somebody in the eye for once? How about that? You don't see football coaches take the podium like that with their endorsed sunglasses. You look like an idiot. Honest to God. I mean, and trust me, Deion, you haven't been that good of a coach so far. That's for sure. And I don't think your season's going to get any better. So take that what you will. I hope they lose every single game. They're not going to win more than 4 or 5 anyway, because they're not that good. Despite some of the talent that they have on that team, they're not that good. And I think they're in for a long, long season, and I think they got a tough opening game with those at North Dakota State coming up. Their opening game, a great FCS team. And then they go to Nebraska, which they're going to lose, and a whole bunch of other games. So yeah, Dion, want to coach Prime. Anybody who sits there at that press conference that says Coach Prime, you guys have no balls whatsoever. Let him ban. If I'm the Colorado media, I get together and walk the bleep out. Walk out.
Yep.
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke what he's doing. And there's more reaction. Let's scroll down a little bit more, Angel, to, okay, this is good. Scroll down a little bit, Gary Myers. This is yesterday on Get Up, and Paul Feinbaum talked about it, the banning of Sean Keeler. And we'll get this up there too, to some other good analysis on Get Up yesterday, Angel. If you see it.
I believe so.
Yep.
And here we shall go. Good morning, Dylan. Here we go.
Good morning.
Coach Prime is showing he is not ready for prime time, Greeny. I find this whole thing to be disgraceful. Dion may want to talk about love and joy, and that's been the cornerstone of what he seems to be spewing out. But treating reporters like this seems like we're in some autocratic country. This is not America, and the fact that it's in his contract is really even more absurd. But don't forget, he did this at Jackson State. This is a trait of Deion Sanders. He wants to have it his way, and I find him to be a bully and a hypocrite, and quite frankly, as someone who has been a fan of his throughout his entire career, even at Colorado, I am mortified by his actions. Coach Prime is showing he is not ready.
Totally agree. And I hate to do this yet. If we could go to Total Sports Prep, Angel, before I comment again on this, if we go to Total Sports Prep, if you don't mind, and scroll all the way down. Let me see, where is it? No, it is. Yes, it's down after the baseball stuff on college football, and I want to get Dan Orlovsky's response. Let me find it for you. Yeah, it's on college football, and forget Dan Orlovsky. It's cut number 2. It's cut number 2 under college football.
Number 2.
Yep.
Here we go.
Dan Orlovsky defending Dion.
Yeah, I mean, for Paul, respectfully, to call him a bully and a hypocrite is ridiculous in my opinion. So, one, I don't necessarily mind that Dion's trying to control a little bit of the narrative. He's obviously been somebody that's been in the focal point for basically the majority of his life. And we don't know exactly everything that's being said. Maybe some of it is public, and we don't know if anything is done behind the scenes. But I don't mind the fact that he's trying to control a little bit of the narrative, both him and the institution. We can sit here and say, because of the seat that you have, you just have to sit there and take it. But we also do live in a time where at some point, some of these people are allowed to stand up for themselves and not just constantly.
Stop it.
And I don't think he's being a bully. He's just saying, hey, if this is going to be mainly what you do or only what you do in relation to me or the program, then we're not going to have any type of interaction, and you're not going to be allowed, because not everybody should get a seat when it comes to having the opportunity to cover a program and or their head coach. Deion's not going to be able to run from all of it. I think he's aware of that. At some point, the criticism is a background noise to success. You're not going to be able to run from all of it, but to say he's being a bully and hypocritical, that's extreme when it comes
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not. It's bullshit, Dan. Get your head out of your ass as far as this goes. Like, I enjoy his commentary, and he has a right to feel that way. I just adamantly disagree with everything he just said. He is being a bully, and he is being a hypocrite. And this guy's ego, it's too bad. He wants to be treated like some sort of a king, god, royalty. Well, I got news for you. You know, Nick Saban had to stand up there and say he knew how to handle the media. He may not have always liked what he said, but I'll be damned if I ever saw Nick Saban ban a reporter. And hey, Deion, what would you have been like, coach of the Florida Gators back in the day? We had 83 guys with misdemeanor and felony charges. How do you handle that? And one domestic dispute that was reported accurately in your team, and you get all panties in a bunch, Deion? Seriously? What are you going to be like when you leave Colorado, which you're going to more than likely after the year, no matter what the bullshit you keep telling people, you're going to stay wherever you go.
Yeah, that's right. I'm inspired now. You're going to have to call me Mr. 727 from now
Oh,
on.
yeah? I'm inspired too. Call me Nerd Boy. My superpower. But yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable that people just kiss this guy's ass. You're just a freaking football. Can you imagine this guy coaching at Michigan or Ohio State or any other? And you want to, and this talks about this guy going to coach Dallas, maybe if his son goes there. I've heard that. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's
And yeah, it was
Spalding.
yeah, Spalding with no, that's the thing. And what is he going to do? What's Deion going to do? Blank everybody out or not speak to anybody? Because so far it's been the Denver Post, it's been CBS. I mean, I can't imagine to ever want to talk to ESPN again after all of this constructive criticism that he is so freaking overly sensitive. It is amazing. There are so many guys. Look what Mike Gundy did, over a decade ago. And we played the clip for you last Thursday. Come after me. I'm 40. I'm a man. I don't read the newspaper. Yet he shows the newspaper the clip. And he thought it was an unfair dig at one of his kids. And I get it. But that's how you kind of handle it. Okay, maybe it was a little over the top extreme, but it made for great radio and great TV and great content for us. So there's ways of handling it, Deion, that you need to grow up and realize this. Your playing days are over. Everybody will always remember you as a great player, one of the greats of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And not in baseball, but you certainly to play two professional sports is amazing. But this is a completely different scenario. You're not the big man on campus anymore. Sorry, buddy. You're not even the medium man on campus anymore. You are down towards the bottom right now. That's where you are. That's where your program is. And when you leave Colorado at the end of the year to go wherever you, and again, he has dictated where he believes his son should go play. So he thinks he's going to be able to manipulate the NFL draft. I hope there's a team in Siberia. Let him go play there.
He's going to be in Dallas.
Deion Sanders thinks obviously very highly of himself, but he thinks he's untouchable. He's a football coach. You are a football coach, one of many in Division I, which I think is 153. You're one of 153, and your program is mediocre to piss poor at best. So deal with that. Deal with that. And I can't wait. I would love to see this guy coach in some high media market profile team. I would love it. Can you imagine? What do you? I'd love to see you try this bullshit, trying to ban a Dallas morning news writer or somebody in Dallas if they said something bad about you or reported an incident of one of your players properly, which was what was done earlier in Colorado. I'd love to see how that would go over. You would get eviscerated. Just absolute bullshit with this guy's pulling. And if I'm the Colorado media, band together, cover the game. Just don't. I would love for Deion to walk in and to find out post game after a loss, game one, or even if it's after the Nebraska loss in game two, to walk into a press room and try to speak out loud to nobody, as nobody is there. I would love to see that. That would, I'm telling you, man, it would make my day beyond belief. All right. We'll get your thoughts on that as well. It's just, I can't believe that I can't believe the University of Colorado. What do you think? If you put his real name in there, what's he going to do? Quit? He's going to leave? Are you serious?
I could have sworn not too long ago. I have to take a look and see, but I could have sworn not long, and I think it was before he became a coach, where he had an issue with someone wearing sunglasses when they were talking to him, and then they were wearing them inside the building, which he said it was one of his biggest pet peeves.
Yeah. Oh no, that's the hypocrisy. You're absolutely right. Or they weren't wearing his brand.
I
cannot tell you how unprofessional it looks for him to sit there and put sunglasses on like that, and then talks about, look at me in the eye and all this other bullshit. I mean, I've just had it. I've just had it. I feel bad for his kids because they're going to have to take the brunt of this. They're going to have to answer for their coach. And the only way they can answer is by winning, which they're not going to do a lot of.
Yep.
Because he's not a very good coach. Not from what I've seen. He's just not. And the way the transfer and the way he talked to kicking players out and all the transfer portal, 50 guys in, 50 guys out. Yeah. Good luck with all that nonsense, Deion. When you're not there next year, you are so lucky. You are big fish, small pond mentality for the University of Colorado. But that ain't going to be the case when you start moving east a little bit. Ain't going to be the case. Or any type of high-profile program. You will find out sooner rather than later that you cannot treat people like this because you were such a great player and such a great athlete. It doesn't work that way. There's been a lot of people in your shoes before, Deion. A lot of people in your shoes. I know you think you're the greatest of all time. You're one of the greatest football players of all time. But as far as coaches, you're not even close. You're not even close. Needs to grow up. Get a grip. And maybe the only reason that will be is when players start transferring out of his program.
Probably so.
Well, Deion going to ban Pete from being a credentialed. Yeah. No, that's look, I hope to God he is coaching at a game sometime where I am credentialed. But that would mean he got to a big-time bowl game, or if he goes to the NFL, a play. Ain't going to happen. Right now, he's just an average football coach on an average to below average program. That is a fact. Fact. You're average, Deion, below average as a coach, and your program is below average too. Deal with that. Prove us all wrong, Deion. Prove us all wrong. Stop acting like a douchebag. You want to be treated with respect? Treat other people with respect as well. And stop being such a freaking crybaby. Because people are breaking news that's true. And you don't want to answer tough questions, or maybe one of your players got in trouble. Gee, Deion, that has happened since the beginning of college, since the beginning of time. There's always a player or two that, or more than that, from years past in certain programs that get in trouble. This is how you're going to deal with it every single time? What do you think? It's going to be the last time somebody gets involved with some sort of a lawsuit or, arrested? I hope it's not domestic violence like the last one was, but more than likely there's going to be assault charges, Mr. It happens from time to time. That is just the nature of the game. What are you going to do? Ban every single media outlet that covers your team, honestly? Because you don't want to talk to them because you think you're better. You're not better than anybody.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate hypocrisy, as we keep seeing in the media today, and it's all the way across the board. Like there's people getting arrested overseas because they said something. Now they're tracking you down to your house and arresting you for the dumbest things. To me, you can't be hypocritical. If people, first of all, you're Coach Sanders. Let's get that one straight out there. Not Coach Deion Prime, not Coach Prime, Coach Sanders. That's number one. No, any other coach anywhere, just like, look at, if anybody, Coach Belichick, if he wanted to, have a little nickname for himself, he probably could have after all that stuff. And there's been other players who've become coaches, but you never see.
But Angel, how about if Deion Sanders was coaching the Michigan Wolverines the last couple of years with all the stuff that Jim Harbaugh's had to go through with stealing signals and what's his name getting caught? I mean, you know what he did? He went out and won a national championship. Gave everybody the big fat bird. How do you think Deion Sanders would have handled Deion? How do you think you would have handled coaching in Ann Arbor? You would have got eviscerated. They would have clobbered you out there. With that. Jim Harbaugh, to his credit, he may not like everything that happened or whatever. And look, it's a shady business. We all know that. But he always said all the right things, I think. Never got overly defensive. If anything, he just said, it wasn't me. I didn't know. I don't know. Now, we all know that he knew. You can't be in charge of a big-time Division I program. You are responsible for all your employees. So we get all that. But he didn't act like it. You may think he acted like an a-hole because of his deniability, but I don't remember him lashing out at anybody or banning anybody or anything like that. And that is a way more highly volatile situation, which a much better program, the best in the country last year, than you will ever have at Colorado, Deion. So deal with that. That's the first question. I was like, how would you have handled what Jim Harbaugh had to handle in Michigan last year?
Yep.
How would you have handled that? Dion, ban everybody in Michigan that covers the team, ban the Big Ten network. How about that? Oh, that would have been great. That would have been great. So he's lucky that there's no Big 12 network out there. Dion. All right, quick break. I've running late again, but again, lots going on today. Huge show coming up. When we come back, more video, some more stuff on Field Yates. Big comments, big commentary, and some cool video. We'll get to that. Some more NFL news as well. Some more college football. Danny Kanell is another one. Danny Kanell has made more excuses for Florida State. It's unbelievable. He sounds like a goddamn politician. It is unbelievable. But we'll hear from Mr. Kanell and his thoughts and making excuses for Florida State losing to Georgia Tech when we come back. And some NFL camp news as well. MLB rundown coming up. Like I said, Bill Burt at 8:30. We'll talk about the Patriots from the Eagle Tribune. We'll talk about the Patriots quarterback situation. Mia O'Brien at 9:05 a.m. And Larry Schechter talks some fantasy football coming up at 9:30. All right, 727-858-6650. That is the number to call. This is the Pete Shepard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Eye on Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can.
making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
Yeah, welcome back. It is the Pete Shepherd Show here at the Coastal Sports Network. Welcome! Home games this week. Getting ready to make my trip to Gainesville. First time at the Swamp. Cannot wait to watch my Hurricanes hopefully beat up on Florida. But I think it's going to be an excellent football game. As I said, we'll have more from Danny Cannell and his excuse making for Florida State coming up in just a little bit. Angela, I hate to ask you to do this, but I forgot to play this yesterday. I wanted to play it. If you scroll on my Twitter page, if you could, all the way down, it's past yesterday's stuff. Remember we played Samson Nakua, Puka's brother, doing that near run back. It's right after that. It's Coach Primus asked in a roundabout way about the decision to no longer take questions from Sean Keeler from the Denver Post. It's the guy who did it is RK. He's got a blue check mark. He's a co-founder, VP of content at All City Network. But okay, you got it. Awesome, fantastic. So this is him on 3 days ago.
Blocks the outside noise or feeds on the outside noise.
You don't care really because it don't influence you. I've never read an article or a comment and said, "Oh, that's gonna make me go harder." I'm going to go hard regardless. But that comment just allowed me to know where you stand.
Okay.
So that's the only differential of the thing. It doesn't propel me. Where I came from propelled me.
Okay.
How I grew up propelled me. Like, being African American, one of few that's the head coach in college football, that kind of stuff propels me. It's not what you say. That lets me know where you stand.
Okay, the second part goes to where do you stand, or where do I stand, or where do we stand together? So I hope that I'm covering you from now through the college football playoff.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I pray so.
Yeah. But I'm also known as a person that sometimes asks less than supportive questions or critical questions. So if I ask a negative question, will you not answer them anymore?
That's being negative right now. Like you taking a
Oh my God.
to be negative. I'm not negative to anybody in here. I would challenge you and ask you why or where is this coming from. So I'm not built like that. I'm not built to hate. I'm not a hateful guy. I come with love. I think if anybody in here has had encounters with me, I don't come with the bullshit. I come with the peace and the joy. Now, when you show me where you stand, I might have to change that a little bit. So I'm not going to match your ignorance or whatever. I'm not saying that you're ignorant, but a person, I'm not going to match that. Well, that's your prerogative. I don't have to come where you are, because my life is complete. I don't like what you say, what you do is not going to change my life.
Everybody smelling this?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
with as many good things happening in this program, this football program, do you feel persecuted by outside noise?
I don't know about persecuted. This is a way of life for me. You guys act like this is the first time I've been shot at. I mean, lied on, cheated, talked about, mistreated, that's the else for something. This is not the first time for this. But as I mature, instead of shooting back or lashing out or just dismissing you, I want to know why. Like, let's help each other. Let's figure out the why. Because if you understand the why in people, that helps you tremendously. Because that's all I come for. I just come to find, I want to know why. What provokes that?
That probably takes longer than a press conference.
For some.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. First, then he brings race into it, which was ridiculous. And then the one has nothing to do with the other about banning a guy from asking questions, and you don't want to take critical questions. Race has nothing to do with it. And this guy claims to be like the ultimate Christian. He's talked about being a minister. All this fucking bullshit. And then he pulls this crap off. Nothing aggravates me more is when people bring race and religion into the job, which has nothing to do with the subject at hand, which is him banning a reporter for absolutely no reason. And everything he said there was hypocritical. Everything he just talked about was hypocritical. No one gives a fuck where you grew up. There's a lot of people that have been in your situation before, Deion, and had it a hell of a lot worse. You were a gifted athlete. You shined and prospered, one of the greats of all time. What does all that stuff have to do with you banning a reporter? Can somebody answer me that question? Everything he just said to that other reporter, what does that have to do with anything of what we're talking about? Nothing. He talks about not being sensitive. He's like, I'm a good guy. I'll come with love. I'm not overly critical. That's how overly critical. You're overly sensitive, acting like a 12-year-old who got bullied in the play. They're making fun of me. They're talking about my players. I would have said, am I allowed to report if one of your players is involved with the domestic violence? Does that mean I can't say it? I can't report the truth? Everything he said there is bullshit. Did you hear it? Could you smell it coming through your laptop or your radio if you're listening on the app? Unbelievable.
Just, I can understand what he's saying because when I was sweeping over here, my eyes were very blurred to the sun, very bright yellow thing in the sky. I couldn't understand what he's saying. Look, first of all, it's absolutely ridiculous for him to turn around and say that when does negative and when does the why become such a factor? I understand, like, there's been reporters where they've come out and they've said, what's your why? And there's certain things you can understand when people are asking a certain question. But all that he wanted to know was, and as a journalist, this has been around for many, many years. It's no different. If someone says, you know what, how about that check down? It didn't work out so well. What did you think ended up being different? If you consider that a negative, then you got deeper issues, because to me, I want a journalist to come up to me and just say, point out the mistakes that we made out in the field and just say, what do you think happened there? And then you just give your honest opinion.
Well, all he has to say is, well, I got to look at the tape. I mean, that's just say, I got to look at the tape. And he's like, well, if you saw that, it's like, I got to look at the tape. Tim says, CD got paid. Now Dak gets his because it wouldn't make sense not to. Got to have someone to throw Lamb the ball. Well, look, he's under contract, Tim. The biggest thing was, why does Dak Prescott now? Dak Prescott has all the leverage. It does not matter what happens now, whether Jerry Jones, unless he makes him a really overwhelming offer to make him the highest paid player in the NFL, because if he doesn't, he's going to be a free agent and somebody else will. So, yeah, there's still a chance that Jerry Jones could make some overwhelming offer that Dak Prescott will say, yeah, okay, that's good. I don't have to be a free agent. Plus, I like this organization. I want to stay here. But he's got all the leverage. He doesn't have to. If it's an offer that he does not like, he will test the free agent market.
Yep. Julius.
What's that? Say it.
Yeah, he said, if anyone
has any rumor about KYW and WPHT, where's that, in Philly?
Yeah, that's in Philly. They're going by.
Oh, they're in trouble. PHT is a little dinky station out in Philly, down on the AM dial. I mean, you're on the AM dial, you're in trouble anyway.
Yeah.
But let us know, given what Odyssey did with 880 AM in New York City, anything is possible. Yeah, I saw this yesterday. WCBS is now going to be the ESPN affiliate. They took the ESPN New York FM signal away and put it on 880. I mean, 880 is a classic station. And for those of you who don't know, in the New England area or down, I mean, that would be like the equivalent of WBZ AM, which was a highly profiled news station and traffic stuff, still is, if they did the same thing. So, yeah, Julius, trust me, it's all coming down. It's all coming down. And I'm sure the sponsors are not happy. Despite 880, they might get away with it there because it's such a well-distinguished station, even still on the AM dial. But nevertheless, sponsors are never happy when you pull this shit and you go from FM to now you're going from a high-profile FM station, as ESPN New York did, to an AM station. It's not going to go over well with a lot of sponsors. But, Julius, it's the beginning of the end of terrestrial radio. It's been going on. Odyssey, it used to be Entercom. It's been $293 million, over $1 billion, $2 billion in debt. Other companies are $300 million in debt and higher. They're all going under. They're all making cuts. They're all been mismanaged. And it's come down to this. There's a lot of good people that are going to lose jobs. So, yeah, if you're talking about, it was KYW in Philadelphia too? WKYW? Yeah.
It's a news station. It's been around for many, many years.
Yeah. They're all in trouble. Anybody who works for Odyssey, Beasley, Cumulus, anybody, I don't care what your ratings are or, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're going to cut. They're going to make severe cuts.
Yeah.
It is already happening. It's going to continue to happen.
Julius usually sends you messages. I'm pretty good at getting back to him. I know he sent me an email the other day saying what's going to happen, but pretty much what Pete just said, Julius, it's going to go away, except for us. We're not going to go anywhere.
No, we don't have to answer these jackasses anymore.
Sure don't.
We've seen enough people that are CEOs that have pissed away what other people have built up for decades and pissed it all away, and then mismanaged with idiot people that come in and consultants and general managers and other stuff who come from other markets to these other big market stations. They want to put their thumbprint and on their state. It backfires almost every single time. And it's unfortunate because a lot of good people are going to be out of work and are out of work right now. It's not going to get better. It'll get worse for terrestrial radio stations. Tim says, if he doesn't want to talk to specific members of the media, what's the big deal? Are you one of those guys who doesn't like Deion because he dumped water on Tim McCarver or a mountain out of a molehill? I know that's why you call me dopey. Just my opinion. No, well, the Tim McCarver thing was another stupid thing that he did. It was childish and arrogant. No, I'm talking about he has pulled this stuff in the past to him. And what's to say he's not going to do it again? There was a domestic abuse that was reported by a report. Any team would have. Tim, do you think Deion Sanders would be able to coach the Dallas Cowboys ever? Come on. You're smarter than that. He is bringing up stuff that he's been a hypocrite and he's been a bully. And he's just a football coach. You're a football coach. You're not God. You're not curing cancer. I know you think you're teaching kids, but I don't know what, except how to transfer. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, Deion, you become a better coach. Banning media members because you don't like what they said about you. Now, if it's something that's really overly personal and they attack your kids or your wife or something like that, then all bets are off. But We're not talking about that. We're talking about them. He didn't like the fact that he had a few nicknames for Deion that he didn't particularly care for. You know how many nicknames coaches get from media members over the years? You can't be that thin-skinned, man. I can't believe after all you've gone through that you're that thin-skinned. I mean, and the fact that the university kisses his ass beyond belief and calls him Coach Prime and not his legal, Deion Sanders. I mean, that's a joke. That's an absolute joke. So anyway, if you're looking at their schedule, I said North Dakota State, that's going to be a tough opening game for them. Big time FCS school. They will give them a battle. At Nebraska is a loss. At Colorado State, I don't know what Colorado State's going to be, but it's a rivalry game, so who knows? I'll give them that win. Home against Baylor, loss. At UCF, loss. Home against Kansas State, loss. At Arizona, loss. Home against Cincinnati, Not sure what the Bearcats are going to be all about. At Texas Tech, loss. Home against Utah, loss. At Kansas, loss. And home against Oklahoma State, loss. I don't see a lot of wins there, Dion. Sorry. I don't see a lot of wins. I see you having less wins than last year, that's for sure. I don't see it. Sorry. Not seeing it with that schedule. Nope. Not impressed. Not impressed at all.
I don't think that superstardom that he had last season is not going to resonate well this year when you had stars and people coming out there like the first 2 or 3 games out in Colorado. I don't foresee that at all.
They started off 2-0. They to their credit, it was TCU and let me see. Hang on a second. Let's get this right. I don't want to speculate. And let me see. Let's go back. Let's go back to last year for the Colorado Buffaloes before we go to break here. September. So again, at TCU, which was big, they won 45-42. Then they were home against Nebraska. They won 35-14. But Matt Rhule, that team was not the team that they have right now. Then they won at Colorado State in double overtime. So they're 43-35. They won 43-35. Now they're 3-0. After that, absolute disaster. Clobbered by at Oregon, 42-6. Lost against USC, ranked number 8 at the time, 48-41. They won at Arizona. They won at Arizona State, 27-24, and didn't win another game. They won 4 games last year. They lost at home against Stanford in double overtime, a bad Stanford team, 46-43. They lost at UCLA, 28-16. They lost at home to Oregon State, 26-19. They lost to Arizona, 34-31. They lost at Washington State, got clobbered, 56-14, and they lost at Utah, 23-17. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4-8 last year. 4-8. That's about what they'll be this year. Same thing with that schedule. 4-8. That's it. 4-8. So good luck with that. And then how he says he's not going to leave because when his sons leave, he's not going to do it. He's going to stay there. But just stop it. Just stop it. But they are not going to get the media coverage. Every Division I game basically is on television anyway. But he is not going to get the kiss-ass stuff that he got after 3 games last year. And then it became an absolute disaster out there for the rest of the season. Disaster. Won 1 game after that. So he started off 3-0 and then went 1-9 after that. Or 1-8 after that. Didn't see a lot of progression. Got worse as the season went on. That's what I see. All those losses in a row. Start off 3-0 and end up 4-8. That's if I do the math, carry the 2, get my slide right. That's a 1-8 finish. 1-8 finish. Okay, live with that, Dion. Can you improve on a 1-8 finish from last year's last 9 games? Oh, I'm banned. It's like Joe's fruit stand in Seinfeld. Banned. Where am I going to get my fruit? I don't want your business. I don't make the peaches. I sell the peaches. I don't want your business. You're banned. You're banned from the store. You're banned from the press conferences. I hope Dion goes out there to nobody at some point this year. Goes out there. Nobody wants to talk to me. Nope. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to you. And then if they do want to talk to you, they're going to feel like they have to censor themselves because you're so overly sensitive, you can't handle any tough questions, or you feel like you're being mocked or disrespected, whatever fucking term you want to use to try to define your integrity. It's ridiculous. If every coach in football acted like him, there'd be bans all over the place. So I say to you, Dion, go look in the mirror and go try to put yourself in really, really difficult situations like guys like Jim Harbaugh in the past and guys who are running real big-time football programs all over the country. A guy like Mike Norvell or Mario Cristobal or Ryan Day. Lincoln Riley. Yep. Go put yourself in those situations. That's just a handful of examples off the top of my head. You couldn't handle it. You would be dead meat. They would eviscerate you. You'd sit there crying like a baby trying to ban every reporter because of criticism. Do you think Lincoln Riley didn't take so much shit last year because his defense couldn't stop anybody? And I'm not sure they're going to be able to this year also either. But you stand up and you take the heat. Oh, and he beat you guys last year, as bad as his defense was. Oh, I forgot about that, too. USC beat Colorado last year, as bad as that was. Anyway, all right, quick break. 1 hour down, two more to go. We have here on the Pete Shepherd Show on the Coastal Sports Network. Coming up next hour, the Red Sox report. The fat lady is singing, Angel. They are done. Swept in a doubleheader yesterday by the Blue Jays. There's only one little interesting thing that happened in that game, which I will tell you about, and most of you may already know already. Bill Burt will join me at the bottom of next hour, talking from the Eagle Tribune, talking about the Patriots quarterback situation. Then we head up north to Jacksonville, Tallahassee area. Mia O'Brien from 1010XL and Helmets and Heels Show. We will talk about not only the Jacksonville Jaguars and their cuts, but also about Florida State and how dejected they must feel as a fan base right now. And what will that mean for Boston College coming up on Saturday when they play again? And then Larry Schechter will join me at 9:30. We will talk about his new book, The History of Fantasy Sports, and the stories of the people that made it happen. Really, really interesting stuff. I have some interesting questions I'd like to ask him as well. All part of the Pete Shepherd Show here on a Tuesday on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Pete Shepherd Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
Back here, it's hour number 2 of the Pete Shepherd Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. Thanks for checking us out across our awesome Coastal Sports Network video platform. Follow me at PShep326 on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. On Facebook at SR1029 The Game, SR1029thegame.com. Download the app there. Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. Call or text at 727-858-6650. That's the number to call. And just a quick thing, because we went to break, I stupidly hit some button I don't think I should have. On the left-hand side under editor, it's just a black screen. Should I be seeing something over there, or did I do something that I shouldn't have hit?
No, yeah, you did it by accident. So I was wondering what happened to the live feed, and I had to switch it back.
Sorry, but right now on the left-hand side of my screen, I can't see anything. Does that mean anything?
No, it just basically comes up as a preview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's fine. I preview myself all the time. Anyway, big hour coming up here. Red Sox report. Oh Jesus, just Red Sox. It's just like here's a Red Sox report. Really, but we'll get into some detail. They got swept by the Blue Jays. They're done. It's all over. But nevertheless, we still must report because it's brought to you by Moynihan Lumber. Bill Burt, bottom of the hour from Eagle Tribune. We're talking about the Patriots quarterback situation. Me, O'Brien at 9:05 up in Jacksonville later on next hour. And then Larry Schechter at the bottom of next hour talking about fantasy football in his new book. By 4 p.m. today, by the way, all 32 NFL teams must reduce their rosters down to 53 players. The vast majority of these moves will be made by releasing or waiving players, as most of us know. A player with 4 more years of service is a vested veteran and thus is outright released. Those players can sign with another team ASAP. A non-vested veteran is subject to the NFL's waiver system. This courtesy of Field Yates. We'll get to him in a second. Teams can also reduce their roster by keeping players on the PUP list, such as Nick Chubb. These players are ineligible to return to game action any sooner than week 5. Also, teams will also be placing players on IR, that's injured reserve to you and me. This year, a new rule is in place. Teams may designate up to 2 players placed on IR at the cutdown as eligible to return after at least 4 games missed. In prior years, a player had to be on the team's initial 53-man roster for 1 business day to be eligible to return. It's a business day of the NFL. Is that 9 to 5? And tomorrow at noon, the league will process waiver claims submitted on any player that was placed on waivers. The priority of the waiver claim order matches the original 2024 NFL draft order. Say number 1, Carolina, number 32, Kansas City. The waiver is a useful tool to mine for young developmental status. And today will be just initial 53-man rosters. Countless more roster moves are ahead in advance of week 1. Meanwhile, let's see any more. Also a new NFL world. Adam Schefter had this a little while ago. NFL owners will vote today on a proposal that will allow teams to sell up to a total of 10% of each team to a list of permitted private equity firms. That's fairly interesting. And our buddy Rick Horrow, who is chairing some sort of a seminar speech that he's doing this week. Can't join us on this Thursday either. Last week he was out in Maine. This week, I forget where he is, but he won't be able to join us this week. But maybe we'll save that for when he comes back next week. So there you have it. There is your latest. And a little bit of college football news or interesting stuff. This came out early this morning. like 12:17 this morning. Speaking of University of Michigan and how Deion would, melt under pressure up there. Former Michigan football staff member Connor Stalions, this is the guy, remember, told NCAA investigators that he never participated in advanced person scouting and didn't purchase tickets for others to attend games of the Wolverines' future opponents to record their signals. He made the claims in April during a video interview with NCAA investigators, segments of which were included in the new Netflix documentary Sign Stealer, which was released yesterday. I didn't see that. So after the show, I'm going to watch that on Netflix. So the lifelong Michigan fan and retired captain in the U.S. Marine Corps, by the way, hired as an analyst in 2022, Stalions is the alleged ringleader of the vast sign-stealing operation in which he's accused of sending people to scout the Wolverines' future opponents, including recording play signals from team sidelines. The NCAA last week sent Michigan a notice of allegations regarding prohibited off-campus sign stealing. According to the documentary, Stalions faces a three-year ban from coaching that he intends to challenge. So when Stalions is asked by an NCAA investigator if any coaches or staff members were aware of the alleged scheme to obtain opponent signals through the in-person advanced scouting, which is banned by the NCAA, he replies, quote, "I did not obtain signals through in-person scouting." And finally, an NCAA investigator asked Stalions if he ever directed anyone to attend a game in which Michigan was competing. Quote, "No, I don't ever recall directing anyone to go to a game." See, that's the big out. I don't recall, Senator. I don't recall. There's an old bit back in the day by Steve Martin. I think it was on an album titled Comedy Was Not Pretty. Because Steve used to do a lot of stand-up then and everything else. Real funny stuff. And he used to talk about paying taxes to the IRS. And he's like, here's how you get out of it. He goes, 2 simple words in the English language. I forgot. Anyway, I don't know why I just triggered that in my little nerdy head. 727-858-6650. Lots of the Red Sox report coming up in just a minute. I do want to scroll down, Angel, on my Twitter account once again. Let's see. Let's break up the monotony. Let's get to some funny stuff that's happened. Well, actually, let's start with this before we get to the other Field Yates stuff. If we could scroll down, Pat McAfee. I didn't get to this story yesterday. Pat McAfee, Jim Harbaugh is the best. This is Adam Schefter. If you don't know, a bunch of Chargers got stuck in an elevator over the weekend for a couple of hours. Here's Adam Schefter on McAfee's show yesterday. You see it? It's not that far down. It's right under the. Let's see. It's 1, 2. It's like the third story down. Yeah, right after. Yeah, right there. This is McAfee. This is Jim Harbaugh and McAfee, and talking about. And then you're going to hear from Jim Harbaugh as well. It's absolutely hysterical.
Well, you heard about the Chargers getting stuck in the elevator for 2 hours, right?
That was on the morning news this morning. Kaylee Hartung did that on the Today Show. She talked about it. And then Harbaugh's quote about it all is
unbelievable.
Here it is.
It was a shared experience. 11 or 12 of our players were there for about 2 hours, and that's a shared experience. I mean, brought them closer together. I just missed it, being on that elevator. So it's like, I wish I could have been there with those guys, But Justin Herbert was, and the remarkable things that came out of it was, to a guy, Tarheeb, young rookie player. It's like, wow, Justin Herbert's a leader. He was a rock. Kept everybody calm, and Jerry Fouts told me the same thing, pulled me aside after they got out, and just how great Justin was. Justin Herbert his hair was a little wet, but his shirt was completely dry. That's another thing that blew me.
Guy didn't even sweat. He was in an elevator with 12 people.
Other guys taking their shirts off.
Dude, he didn't even sweat.
Well, he did sweat up here. He didn't show it to the other.
Yeah, he didn't want people to know in the back there.
Yep.
Just kind of
It's a
behind. Listen, if you need strength, I got you. We're here. We're going to have a good time. In another part of the interview, he said Justin Herbert was the last one off.
That's right.
Justin Herbert was the last one off the elevator. And it's like, if you're Justin Herbert, you have to be so pumped that guy's your head coach. But also, since we're in the NFL, and Tone mentioned it right there, how about Jim Harbaugh being back in our world going, man, I just missed getting stuck in an elevator for a few hours with 12 people.
And wanted to. Disappointed.
What a shared experience that would have been. Imagine right afterwards just being like, wow, we were just stuck in there for hours and hours of our lives. He's a legend. This guy is out of control. But I think that is like the type of energy he takes everywhere, which is why he's had success coaching in every single spot. Mr. Schefter, you know him better than
That's our coach. He's got a unique perspective. He's got a great outlook on these things. He always views these things as bonding experiences. Disappointed that he couldn't be on the elevator. Impressed that Justin Herbert didn't sweat a lick, though his hair was a little bit moist there. I mean, that was certainly a headline. And Jerry Fouts, of course, the wife of Dan Fouts, the great Chargers quarterback who was doing the game on TV that weekend. So lots of interesting insights to take away.
That's pretty funny. That is pretty damn funny.
See, Dion, that's how you handle being a coach. Situations like that. He'd probably get mad at people in Los Angeles for writing about the story about, well, how dare you write about my players getting stuck in the elevator? See, that's the difference. Jim Harbaugh, I mean, just absolutely hysterical. I'm glad he's back in the NFL. Just absolutely. I mean, that is just. I can you imagine the stench? Can you imagine how many guys farted in that thing? Can you? I don't know who was in there besides the players, if there were any fans in there or anything like that. But I can't imagine being stuck in an elevator with 2 guys or 3 guys for 2 hours, let alone 12. And they just coming out of practice. I don't know. So can you imagine that smell?
Yeah, but
God.
What if it hit like the weight capacity or something and made it stuck?
You know what? That's an interesting point. But yeah, this, what is it, 2,000 pounds? Yeah, you might be onto something there, Angel. You might be onto something. But 2 hours, that's a long time. The only time I ever got stuck in an elevator, maybe 5 minutes tops. Been very, very lucky. But I know others that have been stuck for more than 2 hours. And I can't even imagine. I mean, you feel helpless. You can't do anything. I'm not claustrophobic, so that stuff doesn't bother me. But a lot of people are. And start to spaz out.
I've seen it when they finally got the one door open, the elevator door, and then the emergency door, like it got stuck in between the floors. And then they're getting ready, just like they're lifting themselves up enough to get out, and all of a sudden it kicks on, and like they just scooted their feet out at the right time. But there's been plenty of stuff that goes on in elevators. But yeah, it could have been. But it's again, you have to have fun with it, and that's what the guys did.
Yeah. All right. If I may impose upon you to head to MLB Sound, particularly the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. And the first cut I want to play is Danny Jansen makes MLB history by playing for both teams in the same game. If we could play that cut, Angel. And this was the only thing that was really relevant for the Red Sox yesterday, is that history was made. Courtesy of Danny Jansen, this from Nesson, but they got swept in the doubleheader. We'll give you the lowlights coming up in a second here, but this was interesting.
Danny Jansen up on the board there, wearing a Toronto Blue Jays cap. So we have to go back to that date in June when it was 0-0. We're in the second inning. Toronto has a runner at first. George Springer had struck out. Davis Schneider had taken ball 4, and the count on Danny Jansen 0-1. So they have to put that up on the board until things change and they hit for him. As we go back to the second inning of June 26. And strike number 1 as he fouls that back. And that's when the rains hit and shut down the ball game. And so we pick it up as a suspended game for game number 1. And now Danny Jansen, a month later, traded to the Boston Red Sox, and here he is behind the plate in a Red Sox uniform and ready to catch the rest of what was his at-bat. Now, the fascinating thing here is at the count in 0-2, conceivably, he could have caught his own strikeout. That would have gone into the book as his K.
Or he could have hit a home run, too, right?
So much could have happened. One strike now on Dalton Varsho. Count of 0-1. 218 with 15 home runs. You're tuning in for a bit of history here. They'll go after the first one and foul it away. 0-2 pitch. Runner goes. Swung on and missed. Here's the throw down, and that's going to go into center field. Schneider's going to hang right there on the strikeout by Varsho.
So thanks to Dave O'Brien there on Nesson yesterday. Yeah, that's the only thing good that happened. He was traded again, the backup catcher traded to the Red Sox on July 27th. He was behind the plate when the game resumed yesterday after a delay of 65 days, 18 hours, and 35 minutes, if you're keeping track at home. Anyway, the Red Sox lose by a score. They lost game one. They lost that game by a score of 4-1. The nightcap wasn't much better either, as the Red Sox fell in this one 7-3. But Jarren Duran, if we could play cut number one there, Angel, one of the bright spots in this game for the Red Sox in the bottom of the eighth.
Indifference or a stolen base. 1-0. This one drilled into center field. Loperfido turns. That one is gone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that was Jarren. I don't even know who was calling that. It says credit Nesson. I don't know who was calling the game.
Me either.
No idea who that was. It
wasn't Nesson.
Well, no, it might have been, but it wasn't. I don't know. Every time I hear a lady talk, it's not Susan Waldman. I know her. That person in Oakland who's terrible. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, that was one of the highlights of the nightcap. George Springer hit a 3-run home run, his second homer of the day to key a 5-run fifth. The Blue Jays took 2 games from the fading Red Sox, posting a 7-3 win Monday night to send the Red Sox to their 5th straight loss. It was ugly, 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 and ugly. Back to the trainer's room. Abreu limped off after striking out in the first when he couldn't hold on a check swing and the ball hit the top of his left foot. He stayed in and made a sliding catch in the next inning. Chris Bassett, 9-12 with a 4.41 ERA, slated to start Tuesday for the Blue Jays. The Red Sox will go with right-handed pitcher Cooper Criswell, who's 5-4 with a 4.41 ERA. And the Red Sox, as of today, as of right now, in the wild card race, they are, in case you didn't realize, they are in serious trouble. Right now, they are 5 games behind the Minnesota Twins. They are 5 in the loss column behind the Twins, and they are now 6 in the loss column for the Kansas City Royals. So it's the beginning of the end. It's all caught up on them. It was nice for a while, but the Red Sox Report, as always, is brought to you by Moynihan Lumber. Check out their complete line of Anderson windows and doors at any of their 3 locations in Beverly, North Reading, and in Plastow, New Hampshire. All right, Angel, before we get to Bill Burt and a break coming up in just a little bit, I do want to go back to my Twitter page. Let's see. Let's under the Jim Harbaugh's the best you just played. Let's go to Stephen A. He has a shout out for Field Yates. We can play that, Angel. That would be awesome.
It should be good. Oh boy.
Shout out to ESPN Fantasy Football's very own guru, the one and only Field Yates. Yates was hospitalized with a dislocated shoulder after he was injured running, leaping, and diving to tackle, hold your presses, hold it, an inflatable quarterback. Why? It was a competition to determine the draft order for his fantasy football league, as reported by ESPN's very own Adam Schefter. Take a look at this, please.
Through the tackle!
Bad injury?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Dislocated your shoulder, hitting an inflatable quarterback. That's an all-timer right there, bro. That's an all-timer. Number love for you. Number love for you. All the best.
Get yourself healthy, my man. We need you come football season.
Shout out to ESPN Fantasy Football.
And then let's see, let's sneak one more in. This is really interesting too. Let's see. Let's see. Keep scrolling down. Pat McAfee talks about players playing in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Bill Belichick on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. You see it, Angel? Says that's Taxachusetts. Yeah. Common term.
Commonwealth term.
And not the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
No.
Or Pennsylvania for that matter.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that millionaire's tax about, Coach?
Yeah,
They have
what's
New
that?
England. That's strictly New England or what?
What's
Oh yeah, it's Taxachusetts. Yeah, they take more from you. So virtually every player, even the practice squad, well, not, but even the minimum players are pretty close to $1 million. And so once you hit that $1 million threshold, then you pay more state tax in Massachusetts. So just another thing you got to contend with in negotiations up there. It's not like Tennessee or Florida or Nevada or some of these teams that have no state income tax. So you get hit pretty hard on that. With the agents, they'll come and sledgehammer you down about extra tax they're paying. We don't even get any benefit from that.
That's good business, baby, for Massachusetts and from the agents. But
what's that millionaire's tax about, Coach?
Yeah,
They have New England. That's strictly.
Hey, that's good stuff. Good stuff yesterday. And he's right. But then, as bad as people think it might be in Massachusetts and other states, then you look at California, and then you really, you get the hammer thrown down on you, even way worse than everybody else. All right, quick break here once again. Billy Burt, Eagle Tribune, going to join me next. We're going to talk about all things NFL and what's going on specifically with the Patriots. Interesting comments from Gerard Mayo yesterday concerning his quarterback situation. We'll discuss that. We'll play the cut too before, just to get you ready, Angel, on Total Sports Prep before Billy comes on. When we come back, going to hear Gerard Mayo's comments that we have about Jacoby Brissett and Drake May. All part of the Pete Shepard Show coming up here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Pete Shepard Show.
Welcome back here to The Pete Shepard Show here on the awesome Coastal Sports Network. How are you today? Things are going great. We have moving right along. My first guest today from the Eagle Tribune, sports editor extraordinaire Bill Burt, who I cannot see.
I don't know why you can't see me, Pete. Is the mic my mic?
I hear you. I hear
yes.
you. Great. I don't know if you might just have to refresh one more time, Bill. I can't see you.
All right, give me a few seconds. I'll
no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
You said he's in the green room? Okay. I'm sure he'll come on. Anyway, always great that he's close to the Patriots. And again, while we're trying to get him on, for the best articles and audio, there's only one source that provides everything you need 365 days a year to satisfy your sports crave. It's Total Sports Prep. A staff combs through the best articles and audio so you don't have to. Sports and non-sports kicker stories will leave you laughing all day long. To get your free trial of Total Sports Prep, contact them. info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. That's info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. Total Sports Prep, the name says it all. Billy, are you there?
I'm here. I don't know what's up with the camera. I can see you clear as day. So
okay. Well, we can hear you Thursday, right, Angel?
Sure.
Or let's just get into it. It's okay. And if where are you? You home?
I'm at the office. I'm at the office here in North Andover.
Okay. Let's get into it. Gerard Mayo on WEI yesterday. This is a true competition, I would say. At this current point, Drake has outplayed Jacoby. Now, in saying that, we have to take in the full body of work going all the way back to the spring, the beginning of training camp, and we'll see where we end up. But those are the conversations that will happen here over the next couple of days. My feeling has been this, Billy, and then I want your full analysis, your thoughts. Look, I understand. We all understand the offensive line woes. I get it. The 8 penalties in the first half is unacceptable. I understand that. Some of them really stupid as far as, lining up from here to here, just dumb. At this point in training camp, I don't care what backups you have. It's a problem. And I understand all that. For me, though, to me, it's always about, and Bill Belichick said, the best players will play. The best players will play. To me, And Gerard Mayo just summed it up. Drake May is outplayed. There's no doubt about it. He's outplayed Jacoby Brissett. I put him in there. I know the offensive line woes. I have seen other football teams in my life with worse offensive line woes. Go back and look at Troy Aikman's rookie year with Dallas. Go ask him how that felt. And a lot of other players. It's not like the Patriots when Drew Bledsoe was drafted number 1 overall in 2000, or not 2000, 93. It's not like they had a great offensive line too under Bill Parcells at first. It took a little bit for him to get going to develop. So I don't know. Sometimes I think some of this stuff is overblown. This stuff like there's no way Drake May could possibly survive back there. It's all this like overhyped, and I know it's been somewhat disastrous. I understand that. But that's just me. Best players play. He's the best quarterback they have. I play him. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a few things going on here. One, first of all, you compared him to Troy Aikman. You could also bring in the Peyton Manning season. The one thing those teams did, both those quarterbacks, and including Aikman. Aikman was 0-11 his first year. Didn't win a game. And Peyton Manning wasn't
28 interceptions. 28 interceptions his first year.
Yeah. So the issue is not losing, because Drake May is going to lose this year, and that's okay. That's okay, Pete. You were around in 1993 when Bledsoe was here.
Absolutely.
That was, and I'll say this again. I've covered sports here for 40 years. This is the 40th year this year. And that season, I've covered the Patriots since 1991 full time. That season was as much fun as I've had covering a team, the 93 team. And what they did was they ended strong. Now, they started off, it was bad, and they couldn't score. But then all of a sudden you saw midway during the season, wait a minute, this Bledsoe kid, he's got a gun.
Remember, no game really started to turn it around for me, even though they lost. It was in Pittsburgh, remember? And Drew lit them up.
Right.
He lit them up, and the defense had a couple of brain cramps down the stretch. But when I saw them compete against that team, that really good Pittsburgh Steelers team, I was like, there's no question they were heading in the right direction. Okay.
Now,
and then they knocked Miami out of the playoffs at the end of the year.
Right. That was like that felt like a Super Bowl, that game. That felt like a playoff game. But that being said, what you got to remember, that was Parcells' first year here.
Yes.
And this is 180 degrees Bill Parcells, what's happening right now. Great. This team, this is my biggest problem with the Patriots right now. And we'll talk about the quarterback situation, because that's really, quote unquote, I think that's masking the real issue. There's really I don't know what's going on. You can't put your finger on, this is the direction of the team. This is the mentality of the team. Who's the leader of this franchise? I don't know who the leader is. Is it Bob Kraft? Is it John?
He's playing in Atlanta.
Who is leading this team? So that brings us to the quarterback situation. And the one thing about Bledsoe that first year is Parcells came in and he took over a Patriots team that allowed 65 sacks. That was second worst in the NFL in 92. 91, what happens? 93, sorry. They finished second best, allowing 25 sacks. Mm-hmm. He understood, if you're going to bring in a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, which they drafted first overall, you got to protect him. He let him make mistakes, but you have to protect him, because we could go back to even younger. When I don't know, Pete, 1971. How old you were then?
Well, I know, but Jim Plunkett, I don't know how we survived the first year with the Patriots. It's unbelievable how bad that team was. He got eviscerated.
Right. Well, that was the problem. It wasn't the mistakes. It was he had no time to throw, and his confidence was shot. And that was, Pete, that happened for 5 years. That wasn't like a 1 year thing. So here, let's go fast forward now to this year. Drake May has shown enough where you go, wow, okay, that was good. That wasn't just like some some stock quarterback making a play. It's him moving in the pocket, stepping up, and making a play, running, 18 yards for a first down, deep in Patriots territory on his first drive. This is after 2 botched snaps, one for, the center dropping the ball. So I'll tell you what, I've seen enough from Drake May where I go, okay, there's something here. This guy's got ability that's above some average quarterback. That being said, And the issue would be if Aaron Rodgers was ahead of him, if Tom Brady was ahead of him, we're all sitting here saying, take the year off. This is Jacoby Brissett, and I'm going to be honest with you, he does not look good right now. And so if he looked good, I'd say, all right, well, ride out the first month. Very tough schedule the first month, and then they're home for 3 weeks out of the four weeks in October. So then you sort of set them up for some success in October. You know what? No, it's not happening. Everyone in the world, even in the locker room, knows that Drake May should be starting at quarterback. They do know, and the thought is protect Drake May, and I don't think you can right now. Unfortunately, I think what you got to focus on is the offensive line doing its best to protect this kid and let this kid make plays. Don't worry about winning or losing. As I said, at the end of the season, and this is what a story I'm working on. The most important part of the Patriots season is November and December. It's not September and October. This team is going to win 4 or 5 games if they're lucky. Maybe their defense is great. I don't think it is, but let's say they win 6 or 7. But this is a 3, 4, 5 win team. And that's what they should be focusing on, building for the future. Look, there's $50 million in cap space. That's embarrassing, to be honest with you. They should have brought in a couple of people. Again,
I agree.
If we knew who was in charge, they would have a direction and say, we're going to build a team around the quarterback. Well, you drafted a quarterback, but you're not building a team around a quarterback.
Right, and Elliot Wolf's comments to the media this past week about how proud he is or whatever he said, big accolades for the offensive line. Out of your fucking mind? Yeah, I mean, there's one thing about saying all the right things, but you could kind of tiptoe around that a little bit, say, well, we're improving every day. Don't say how good they've looked, because they haven't looked good. And these are the people that you signed, Elliot.
Yeah, and so look, the offensive line is one thing. Coaching's another. When guys are committing offside penalties, they're lining up in the wrong area. That's coaching. And you also have guys who are second and third string guys playing in roles they're probably not suited for. So, my opinion, Drake May has to play this, and you uber focus on making sure he's somewhat upright. Again, the one thing about Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman in their rookie years, they were protected. They weren't great, but they were protected. You got to protect Drake May.
All right, and the people that say, well, start him the first 4 games. It seems to me like almost every game is brutal. At the Bengals, home against the Seahawks, at the Jets, at the 49ers. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. Defenses that you're going to have to play. As much as I hate the Jets, that to me might be the one game they can win because it's the Jets. But I just want to see okay, so people say, so you don't want to play them against those. I hear that all the time from people up there. Oh, I want to play them in those 4 games and get killed. Okay, then you're home against Miami, home against Texas, and home against the Jaguars.
Right, you're home. You're home, and that's really the key. But look, forget the wins and losses. They're not winning games this year.
No,
this is. But again, Pete, as I said, that's okay.
Got to keep them healthy.
If that's okay, if he is, again, the thing about health is you want him to not lose his confidence, and you don't want the Jim Plunkett thing to happen to him. I don't mind him throwing 21 TD passes and 27 interceptions. That's fine. Make stuff happen. He can run the ball. He's a very athletic kid. He's 6'3.5". He's got great size, and I'm just going to be honest. He's very likable. You can see he's respected in the locker room. He's the kind of guy the guys want to follow. I think it's the opposite of what Mac Jones was. I think Mac Jones ended up going in a shell. There's something about this kid, and look, I've only seen him a couple preseason games here, but it's like, it just something strikes me where there's. This is not normal. This is a better than normal, and they got to do this right. That's in my opinion. They got to do it right.
I agree. And you talked about November, December. It doesn't get much worse. It doesn't get much better for them either. You start off with at Tennessee, which you don't know what they're going to be about, but still. Then at Chicago, and by then Caleb Williams is either going to be very good or they want to try to run him out of town because it's a ridiculous amount of pressure on a rookie quarterback.
Right.
It'll be interesting. Home against the Rams, at Miami, home against Indy, at the Cardinals, and they're going to play the Bills twice in 3 weeks, the last part of the season. At the Bills, home against the Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh, who likes to get stuck in elevators, and but claims he would love to have been there. And the Buffalo Bills again, they close out the season. So what I would like is if they make the progression, and the last game of the season against the Bills means something for the Bills. Either they get to knock them out of the playoffs or prevent them from winning the division. Maybe they knock them into a wild card spot. That's my goal, is for that last game of the season in Foxborough against Buffalo, is for that game to mean something for the Patriots.
By the end of the season, Pete, we need to see if this kid's a franchise quarterback. And we have to see, first of all, the elephant in the room is we got to see if this coach knows what he's doing. Gerard Mayo, I got big questions there. And my issue, that's a whole separate issue. And I think back to my original comments here.
Well, what's your biggest question about Gerard Mayo? Because I know him a little bit. I mean, a very little bit. I did win the Mayo Bowl that year. I was the media member that won. Meter was second. But I know he's a football gym rat, the equivalent of a gym rat in college. I understand all that. And you and others have questioned, so do I, from how he handled the Judon situation last month to a lot of other things. But what is your biggest question about Gerard Mayo?
What's going to happen when this team loses 3 in a row and has a bad game with 3 fumbles, 2 fumbled snaps, offensive lineman gets hurt, and the quarterback's not looking good? Let's say the rookie, Drake May, is not looking good. How is he going to keep this team together? The finger pointing that happens. Remember, the defense could be good here, and what I'm seeing is potentially the finger pointing. Those guys aren't good enough. They're not helping us. Who picked this offensive line? My issue is, what's he going to do? Because that's what Belichick, if you want to talk about one of his strengths, is when things are going bad, he found a way to turn it around and forget about the past and look ahead.
Move on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati. And that's an elite talent of Bill Belichick's. I don't know what Gerard Mayo's talent is. I mean, he's a good guy. He's very, he gives you a lot of information. I mean, look, I'll go back to the preseason when, there's Drew Rosenhaus is talking to a player just off the sidelines. You have him arguing with Judon, Mayo arguing with Judon about, should you be on the field if you're going to sit here and mope? It's like, what's happening to this franchise? Now, that's probably what the rest of the NFL has been doing for the last 30. We didn't really notice it.
Yeah, exactly.
What didn't happen here? We were a military operation here in New England. No, the media didn't like it, a lot of the media, because we didn't get the answers we wanted. But guess what happens in military operations? Everything is secretive. And that's what the Patriots did. And you know what happens? When you're winning, it works. The last couple of years, Belichick made some big mistakes in the draft. The N'Keal Harry signing, the draft pick, in my opinion, ruined this franchise. They tried replacing that so many times and failed. Maybe Tom Brady stays if they draft one of the 7 great wide receivers that were in the draft after N'Keal Harry. Probably not, but I'm just saying. Yeah. So this, but back to Gerard Mayo. I think Gerard Mayo is. I have so many questions about how he's going to keep this team together in tough times, because, Pete, there's going to be some tough times this year.
Oh, no question. My gut feeling is, and I hope I'm wrong, my gut feeling is he's still going to start Jacoby Brissett.
I don't know if he can, Pete, and I'll tell you why.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
No, maybe a game or two, maybe. I'm just – and, look, I get it, because that's you want to protect – you don't want Drake May to lose his confidence. I think that's the most important thing about this year.
Throw a game plan, throw a lot of screen passes. Look, we know after kicked his shoe off the other day, stepped on his foot, and then kicked. And he made that play. He stepped up. He made so many plays, despite the offensive line, quote unquote, breaking down a little bit. He still stepped up in the pocket, made some plays, had a couple of nice scrambles. I think they can devise a game plan enough where they can keep him protected, do some. Short, mediocre type passes, gain him some confidence. And then you saw what he can do. He can scramble and he can unload down the field. And I still love Polk. And, Pop Douglas had some nice moves again the other night, too. I mean, they still have, they're not, it's not Marvin Harrison Jr. or anything like that. But I think Drake May, because of his mobility, can make some things happen here that Jacoby Brissett cannot.
Yeah, no, Jacoby Brissett is a rank below average NFL quarterback. And he's a good guy. He's been around. He's a smart guy. I like Jacoby. I've always liked him. I think that this team can't. They can't score 7 points a game. We saw too much of that the last 2 years. We want to see some promise, and that's why look. We haven't even mentioned the running game. Ramondre Stevenson just got a big raise.
Yep.
He's paid top 15 running backs in the NFL.
And Gibson looked good the other night too. I thought.
And Harris looks pretty good. So that's a potential strength too. And look, that takes a little pressure if they can run the ball. But guess where this goes back to? The offensive line. The offensive line has to block. There were times that Stevenson had nothing last year. He ran to the line, and it was like running into a wall. And I go back to Parcells. The first thing he did, he addressed the offensive line, and the Patriots did not address the offensive line. And I thought that's a big mistake going into this year. And I hope they can recover, because if the offensive line was very good, let's say they went out and got a left tackle. Let's say they went out and signed a guard and gave him 12, 13 million, like the good guards get. I think then I'm looking at this team with Drake May is, maybe they win 6 or 7 games and they build towards next year. I'm very, very, very concerned about the offensive line.
Does anybody think? I've looked at some of the teams and everything. I can't keep track of. I know the cut down days, 4 o'clock and all that stuff, and tons of players are going to lose they're going to get released today or get waived. Is that any update from what the Patriots have done, or do you anticipate any surprises at all?
No, I really don't. So. Look, wide receiver, they're all a bunch of number 3s and 4s. Polk could be pretty good. There's no surprises there. Maybe Boutte, I don't know.
Tyquan Thornton's going to break out this year. I keep hearing. He's the fastest player in the league, arguably. He arguably is one of the fastest players if you did a full-out sprint. But he doesn't get open enough.
No, he gets hurt, Pete. He gets hurt just without guys hitting him. He falls down on the field and gets hurt. You see him run without anyone around him. He looks like a deer. The problem is not great getting his feet in bounds. He's had a couple issues there. His hands are okay. I think that was a blunder, to be honest with you. I think they took a shot. They drafted the fastest guy in the draft, and it wasn't a possession guy because this is outside of the realm of what Belichick usually drafts. So I don't see any surprises here. There's no surprises, Pete. The team, I'm still trying to figure out the team. I'm trying to figure out.
Well, what about like Bailey Zappi? Not that that's a surprise, but what about like Bailey Zappi?
I think Bailey Zappi, they're going to probably have to let him go, and they need that space because they get it for special teams. They can't have 4 quarterbacks, and they don't. They really want to keep 3, and they like both draft picks. Obviously, Drake May and. So
Joe Milton,
Milton's shown enough, where he's the kind of guy you could have some fun with. Milton absolutely has outplayed Zappi, and not that he's played great either, but Zappi's time has come, and he was a 4th round pick, so we're not going to lose any sleep over him. But there's a couple teams that I think could use him possibly as their backup, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a couple of things, veering off from the Patriots, and I don't know how many games that you're going to be signed to go to Fenway the rest of the year, but the fat lady has warmed up. She warmed up in game 1 yesterday. The only funny thing was about Jensen, playing for both teams and all that stuff. And now she is sung. This is it. It's finally caught up with them. That was the beginning of the end. The Arizona series also. It's 5 losses in a row.
Yeah,
it's over. I'm fine with it. They overachieved so far. It is what it is. But how many more games do you have to cover at Fenway?
Yeah, I'll be going in. In fact, I may even go in tonight. So I'm trying to figure a few things out here. But look. Here's the key. Alex Cora stayed. I thought he was gone. Alex Cora stayed because he believes in this management, which with Breslow, quote unquote, Sam Kennedy, that they will get them over the hump next year, and they will legitimately, finally, after a couple of years of Hein Bloom, great guy, knows young guys, but in Boston, you got to win. It's time to win, basically. I mean, the Red Sox and Yankees are sort of in similar territory. The Yankees are ahead of them in that factor. It's time to go for it. And it was a disappointing season in that I wanted them to go after one really good starting pitcher, and they didn't. And they wanted to give up. They wanted to give up probably a prospect, one of the three that just got moved up, and they didn't want to do that. I get it. They do have talent. The Red Sox are young, and there's three guys in Worcester, and there's three guys in this roster who are in their early 20s. The future looks good, and that's why I think Cora decided to stay. So it's disappointing. They ran out of gas, Pete. They just ran out of gas.
I wanted to ask you about your son, Max. Was that legitimate last week or 2 weeks ago when he made that catch? That was him, right? That made an unbelievable catch. He made SportsCenter.
He dove on the tarp in left field, third base. He had a home run on Saturday, so we're grinding, bro. It's tough. He's in Double-A in Somerset. I'm going down on Thursday. His birthday is Wednesday.
Not Somerset, Mass, but Somerset, Jersey.
Somerset, New Jersey. Which is about 40 minutes south of Yankee Stadium. But they get a really good team. A couple of top prospects are with them. He's sort of the captain of the team down there, and so we're going to go down. I've had a great ride here so far. He's not even close to being done. He's 27, loves the game, and still believes he's going to be a major leaguer. So I'm with him.
Good, but I wanted to ask you too, channeling in because down here. And they're closer to Orlando, but the Lake Mary Little League team, finally Florida gets a World Series champion after 8 previous attempts. But you were part of didn't you go to Williams? I forget, the team that you coached or whatever, was Max on the team that went to Williamsport back in the day? I can't remember.
Long story. So in 1988, the Andover team went. I covered that. I was 26 years old. Okay. When I left, I drove back to this long ride, about an hour's ride to the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Airport. And I said, someday when I have a son, I'm going to take him to the Little League World Series. Well, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, he and my wife and me went to the World Series as fans. We did it for 5 years in a row. When he was 12,
you guys came close, right?
We made it to the sectional championship game. Lost to Peabody, 1-0. Max pitched, and probably one of the best games he's ever played in sports was that 1-0 loss. And ended up Peabody went to the World Series, and we were going to go. He decided he didn't want to watch Peabody, so we didn't go.
No support for the other kids in Massachusetts.
He was ticked, but that Peabody went. That was 2009. This year we had Salem, New Hampshire. Salem, New Hampshire, local team here. They went, and we sent them.
They had that Hawaii team in the first game. They had them. They lost 3-1, but they had the bases loaded in the 5th and the 6th inning, and then that kid for Salem hits a line shot down the third base line. Even a major leaguer would have come off the bag. Unfortunately, their player came off the bag, and then the Hawaii kid tagged it for the double play to end the game. But
Pete, I'm impressed.
They played their hearts out. They played their hearts out. I watched the whole thing.
I'm impressed, Pete. You saw that game. That's exactly what happened. And I was sort of got close with that team and the coach. And but listen, I'm a big baseball guy. I'm a big believer, and I'll say this to anyone listening. Next year, you want to go on a family trip, go to the Little League World Series in Williamsport. Just go for the first 2 or 3 days. Go home. You'll see all the players. You'll know the players. You know the teams. Best experience. One of the best vacations we ever took, and we did it 5 years in a row.
Awesome. Bill Burt, you are the best. Thank you so much. Continued success with the Eagle Tribune and Max, and give him my best. And we will talk to you soon, I'm sure, if not next week, maybe the week after. And we'll see where we are. Always a pleasure, my friend. Love you.
Great talking to you, Pete. Take care.
Okay. Take care. Quick break here on the Pete Shepherd Show. Mia O'Brien, my favorite Irish Sicilian ever. She will join us next from Jacksonville. We'll talk about the Jaguars and the NFL in general and Florida State and all that good stuff. All part of the Pete Shepherd Show here on a Tuesday. Hour number 3 commences right after this.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish, now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
All right, back here. It's hour number 3 of the Pete Shepherd Show here on a Tuesday. Thursday. It's already August 27th, and joining me, my favorite Irish Sicilian of all time. Even though Tom Hagen was German-Irish, I still call him somewhat Sicilian because the Corleone family adopted him. But even better is the one and only Mia O'Brien from up at 1010XL. You hear her on the station all the time, and on Helmets and Heels, the host of that show, covers the Jaguars and a lot of college football as well. Mia, good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Enjoying limbo week before the real craziness gets going next week.
If I tried to limbo now, I would dislocate my body. It's not funny.
I'm probably the same, so it's all good.
Oh, stop it, please. Anyway, before we get into the NFL, can I send Danny Cannell any more excuses about Florida State? Will he accept them? I don't know how I know you well. I don't know how well you know him. I interviewed him a couple times way back in the day, but because I'm ready for this, I had to laugh. I'm not surprised. I picked Georgia Tech to cover. I think we talked about
Oh, I did too. Yeah, I was plus 10.5 all the way. I mean, more so, it was just hilarious for me because my sister got married on Saturday, and so.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank
you were in
you.
the wedding.
Yes. So I was sitting there in the bridal suite streaming the game on my phone, and I was just cracking up at Brett McMurphy and some of the Barrett Sallee and just the national guys, just like dagger after dagger after dagger about the lawsuit, about losing to a team from Georgia the last 2 times out, and I was just cackling away, and I think all these other girls thought I was crazy. But yeah, no, it was, you can't help but throw jabs. I mean, this is what happens if you play with fire. You're gonna get burned if you do in fact allow the flame to engulf you, and that's exactly what happened for Florida State. And I mean, this is what happens. You made your bed, now you're gonna lie in it, and the bits and the memes are gonna come with it.
Well, I got to tell you, the first possession, Florida State just marches down the field and goes through them like a sieve. It was unbelievable. I go, oh shit, this is going to be, geez, maybe I was way off here. But Georgia Tech responded immediately. Then they left 3 or 4 drives. Florida State couldn't really get much going, and after that, I just thought, man, they're in this game. Besides the long field goal that happened at the end, which was phenomenal, but great job by Georgia Tech, I thought, and Florida State can still recover as far as that goes. They can still recover, but I thought in the beginning they were way overranked, and I think they're gonna take a step back this year.
Yeah, and I think that was always the case. I think that I would equate Florida State and what their ceiling is in 2024 to Clemson post Trevor Lawrence. That's not to say they can't win 10 games. That's not to say they can't win 9 games in what has so often over the last 3 years, been a weak ACC. And so I expect them to still have a winning record, still make a bowl game, still win more than 8 games by virtue of the schedule they're playing. Although certainly that run defense gives me a lot of pause. Bringing in Marvin Jones Jr., bringing in so many guys from the portal, once again, the expectation was, okay, the defense is going to be the backbone and the strength of this team, especially in the secondary. And while the secondary held up its end of the bargain a little bit more so on Saturday, that front 7 gave me a lot of pause. And I saw so many people, which of course, for me, I feel like vindicated. I saw so many people saying that the loss of Kalen DeLoach, who of course is from up the road here in Savannah, now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the idea of losing him, losing Bethune, losing those guys in the middle. Yes, you bring DJ Lundy back, but not having those 2 guys who had been your middle linebackers for the last 3-4 years, and what a significant loss that was, even if those were the 2 guys that did not get drafted of the 13 players that Florida State lost to the NFL draft, or to the NFL, I should say. That was where it was just, I did not expect that. I expected DJU to be a question mark. I expected the chemistry with the wide receivers to be off. I did not expect them to get run all over and straight up bullied by the others.
It was amazing. I was absolutely amazed.
Kirk Ferentz was punching the air somewhere, so proud of Brent Key and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and Coach Ferentz out. Of course, missed that Illinois State game. I don't know how they survived. But
listen, he was crying about it, man. It was a sad day. A sad day. It'll be on Saturday.
Level 2. Oh my God, the humanity. So set the scene for me. You're at your sister's wedding, and like during the, I'm sure your bride. Were you maid of honor or your bridesmaid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're maid of honor. You got the game streaming somewhere on your persons, whatever kind of dress has pockets, or I don't know. I'm sure you found a way to do it, maybe like a Secret Service agent somehow. How did that? So the service is about to go on, and you're listening to the game.
Well, the football gods actually took pity on our family big time this weekend. The Jags had their final preseason game on Friday.
Mhm.
I would say the real Secret Service sneaky was my boyfriend on Friday at the dress rehearsal dinner. As soon as 7 o'clock rolled around, the dress rehearsal dinner started at 6, which was good. We got through the speeches, the gifts, all that. So then we were just eating, and it's literally me, him, my parents, my brother, and my grandparents. And like very subtly, like just as while he's like mid conversation with my grandpa, he just like pulls the phone out, just pops it up. And like, I'm just kinda like, what's he? But then like, she was like, what the, like, is he just watching a random game? And I think she kind of dismissed it as that's just him.
Yeah.
And then I made a comment to my dad. I'm like, Doug's playing the starters. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, Ingram just scored. And so then my dad and my grandpa were like invested in it. And then Saturday we lucked out because as much as, yes, it meant a very late night, the ceremony wasn't until 6 o'clock. So I watched.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Wow.
I got most of the game in. We pulled up during the reception. We pulled up the late night football of, Montana State and New
Yeah.
Mexico and
Yeah.
SMU.
That was a
and
good
all
game
that.
too. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we had those games up, but the big ones, we lucked out. Like literally, the football gods took pity on my sister, I guess, because her boyfriend played at Fordham, and or her husband now, her boyfriend, her
Uh-huh.
husband, I guess now.
Yeah.
They took pity on him and his friends since they all played college football, and they were like, okay, we're gonna make this easy on you on Saturday. And for me, they made it easy because we didn't even have to think about the Jags Saturday and Sunday.
I gotta ask you about it's sort of a personal question about your parents, and they must get. I'm sure, obviously, they're so proud of you, like I am, and everything else. But they must really get a kick out of what you do, right? I mean, are they? And I want you to talk about yourself a little bit about. I mean, did they ever expect you to be you like this? Say 10 years ago.
The short answer is yes. When I speak to student groups, I tell them all the time, I'm the anomaly. I'm the 1% in this field. I was very fortunate that at a very young age, I was identified as someone that could do this. I was fortunate enough to go to Bruce Beck and Ian Eagles sports broadcasting camp at 15. I was lucky enough that the two of them said to my parents, she's legit. She's going to be able to do this. And therefore, this is the blueprint. Like, she's got to go to Syracuse or Ithaca. Then she's going to move to Billings, Montana, Spokane,
Mhm.
Washington, Bangor, Maine. I ended up being Cedar Rapids. And then she's just going to bop around the country, and like, this is what she's going to do. And so, if anything, honestly, it was the worst thing possible because, we're talking like my senior year at Ithaca College. I'm like out on a booze cruise. My mom's texting me and she's like, hey, I saw there's an opening in Savannah. Did you apply yet? And I'm like, Mom, like, I'm literally like drunk on a boat. Like, sure. Like, I'll get to it next week. So, so no, they are very proud. Yes. But, it's weird because I've been very fortunate. Although of course of late, the story has taken quite the turn, to get to know Stetson Bennett's family from up the road in Pierce County. And, we laugh at what Big Stet and, that whole family has done from the time Stetson was 3 years old. His dream was to be quarterback at Georgia. And the family literally refers to it as that was the plan, and we worked the plan from the mailman hat to the juke. Like, everything was part of the plan, and this was the focus. And in a weird twist of fate, I would argue like my upbringing is also that way. So it's kind of funny that like my parents laugh at like Stead, and they think the whole thing is hilarious, and like they're rooting for him, obviously, but at the same time, they are quite literally doing the same exact thing.
All right. I'm headed to the Swamp. I'm leaving after the show on Friday, and are you covering that game by chance, Miami?
I am not. I'm getting the weekend off, sending the young guns. My young photographer, Jacob, will be there. And then Hayes Carline will be boots on the ground for us. And then, of course, our podcast crew will be up there. But I believe, like you, they will be enjoying the game. And then Leon Searcy will also be there, which I was informed because he is in the Ring of Honor for the Canes. Therefore, he can stand on the field. He doesn't know if he wants to on Saturday. Given a 3:30 start in the Swamp.
Yeah, we got my buddy. I think I'm going with a bunch of attorneys. One person I know is we got 10 rows in back of the Miami Hurricane bench, 10 rows up on the 50-yard line. So whatever. But I was going to say the pre-party is at Capone's on Friday. Have you been to Capone's at all?
I have not. Only heard about it.
Good things, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people who've gone. I've never yet. I'm not so familiar with the menu.
And fine, before we get to the Jaguars, I do want to shout out the Lake Mary Little League team, which is 18 miles north of Orlando. I'm sure you're sort of like, you're not right next door, but you're not too far away. But what an amazing story. I know you had your sister's wedding, but I'm sure, I know around here in Southwest Florida, everybody was rooting for him. I saw highlights of all the bars and everything else. And up your way, it must have been a great feeling for everybody. Watch that
Yeah,
team
it was
win.
cool. And what was really cool, I don't know if you've seen the viral clip just yet, but my good friends at Wesh TV were up there from Orlando, the NBC affiliate, and they were doing the 6:00 news live as the final out was occurring and the game-winning run was coming in. And so Darren actually goes into play-by-play mode, and shout out to Zach Maskovich, their number 3 and sports photographer, who had the wherewithal to just see, hey, we got to film this. This is the final play, and a really, really cool moment and a sportscaster's dream. So I was very excited, obviously, for the team, but also for the coverage they were able to provide up in Williamsport.
Absolutely. I'm just seeing a couple of pictures from the wedding. Great stuff. You all look beautiful. That's great. Congratulations to the sister.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it was a blast. All right. Let's get into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Whatever the game was. Mac Jones still pretty good again. I'm happy for him. I saw your projections, and you think that absolutely he's going to make the team.
Yes, unless some team comes in with a Godfather offer between now and 4:00 or now and next Sunday. My expectation is that he will be the backup quarterback. That is by virtue of, yes, certainly CJ Beathard being a little banged up, but also the plan all along. The Jaguars had some concerns, not with Beathard as a backup, definitely not with Beathard as a voice in Trevor Lawrence's ear, but more so his availability over the last 2 seasons when Trevor was banged up. It felt like every time Beathard went in, he was getting banged up too. And so I think that this is a move to essentially secure a guy who many people believe could become a starter at some point down the road, or just a really good backup throughout the duration of his NFL career down the road. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm just very curious to see if Beathard is placed on short-term IR or if he is a vested veteran on the practice squad.
What's the over? I mean, is this team going to play with a chip on their shoulder after last year?
Yes, absolutely. And they play better that way. They will be the first to tell you, which is probably a problem long term, that they don't like being front runners. They don't like playing with, being told how great they are. And I think that pressure is certainly a privilege, and that's something that every team has to adapt to. But this is a team that prides itself on being an underdog, which is kind of weird when the face of your franchise is someone who literally never loses. Up until he got to the NFL, he never lost. But the rest of this tag team of sorts is a lot of guys who've been counted out throughout their career. And so therefore, all the more reason to lean into that underdog mentality.
Even though I'm picking Miami to win the division this year, barely over Buffalo, I am. But, man, nothing would please me more than have your Jaguars come down here and shut them up. That would be, but it's tough 4 out of the gate for a lot of teams.
Yes.
But at Miami, then you're home against Cleveland, at Buffalo, and then at Houston. That's about as tough as any front 4 coming out of the gate.
Yeah, and it's a complete contrast to last year, where I think the first 6 were a little bit more of an easy putt, comparatively speaking. But the back 6 were incredibly difficult. And I think you could say the same about the Texans' schedule this year. I think their first 6 are a little bit more manageable. But when you've got to play both the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens in a 5-day span in the middle of December, good luck. I'm glad that's not me, because I would not want to have that down the road. And I think for the Jags, when you look at their final 6 games coming out of their bye week, 4 of them are within the division. The other 2, I don't know what the Jets will be. I don't know what the Raiders will be. I think those are the 2 biggest wild cards in the NFL. But optimistic that it'll be a little bit easier of a putt down the home stretch, and you kind of control your own destiny.
I got you. So, although I did see a tweet of yours, you said, "I caved, roast me." And then you had, is that a great pumpkin, whatever that is?
Cold brew.
Oh, okay. Where's that from? Starbucks?
Yeah, of course. They started it earlier. Usually they're not available till September, but they made them available last week.
Well, that's just Dunkin' has a pumpkin ice too now, right? That came
Yes.
out, I thought, the other day. Yeah, because God forbid we wait. And I'm sure the Christmas one will come out tomorrow. I mean, they jam, the corporate America just jams these holidays down our throat. We can't even digest anything.
Heaven no. We need more pumpkin in this world.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Not the Great Pumpkin, but which is the worst Charlie Brown cartoon of all the majors. Is the Great Pumpkin one. Not a fan of it. Anyway, me O'Brien, you're awesome. Thanks so much. I do want to say one thing. It's so funny because when you were just talking about your career and your parents and everything else and all that and talking about, I think, Iron Eagle. So on Friday, my good friend is Catherine Tappan. I've known her for years, and she's coming on with me. And, she went through at a young age so much. When she started covering hockey, she'll be the first one to tell you she was a little overwhelmed. And I had a conversation with her at a charity event one time, and we really hit it off. And she was great. And she's always been so nice to me and everything else. But she's worked with Iron Eagle on the sideline and everything else. What is your ultimate goal? I keep telling you. I tell all my ESPN friends, and I know you do some stuff for them, ESPN Plus and women's college basketball and all that stuff. What is your ultimate goal? Do you want to be play-by-play, color analyst, sideline reporter, network TV? You're going to get there. I have no doubt you're going to get there. But what is your overall goal?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of morphed over time. As a young kid, I used to say pre-NFL Countdown, coincidentally enough, I wanted to be Sam Ponder. I guess that morphed into Maria Taylor. I felt that job, which I know has kind of been split now among multiple people, kind of is a microcosm of what I hope to do, which is no 2 days are the same. There are some weeks in which let's start with this. So Monday, Tuesday, you're off. Wednesday, you fly to wherever College Game Day is. Thursday, you host College Football Live. So Friday, same thing, and you also do a story. Saturday morning, you do Game Day. Then you get flown across the country to the game of the week. You do a recap package on Sunday. That for me as a young kid was certainly the goal. I would say it's morphed a little bit, especially in the post-COVID era, in which, the fact that I'm talking to you right now from a home studio, I think that's kind of shifted some stuff for me, as did post-COVID / during COVID, living and working in an NFL market, really tapping into the NFL draft. And so that's where kind of the idea and the lane of an NFL insider kind of grew. And so if anything, I'd probably say more Rossini than anything else, especially what she's been able to do in the multimedia space, because she's still doing sidelines. She's still doing Fox, kind of making her own lane of sorts. And so something along those lines where still on TV, sideline reporting, but also more of the NFL insider as well.
Awesome stuff, Mia. Thanks so much. As always, congratulations again to your sister and your entire family. Great stuff.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll talk next week. Always a pleasure. All
Absolutely.
The best. Go do something fun today if you have the day off.
Yeah. I ran this morning. That's why this is my post sweat, post shower outfit.
Wonderful.
I have an intern starting today at 10. That's why I got to run on you guys.
That's fine. Go do what you got to do. All the best, Mia. Take care.
Adios.
Safe
travel.
Yes. Yes. My 4-hour drive to Gainesville, actually 3 hours and 40 minutes. There she is. And one and only, she had to run out of here because she was supposed to come out at 9:30. Then she texted me last night. I got to come on at 9:05. I have an intern coming in. She's always something. It's always something. But Mia O'Brien covers the Jaguars for 1010 XL, college football, and the host of Helmets and Heels. Great show. Woo, Angel, man, good stuff.
Yep.
Joe.
Yep. How hot and humid would it be in Gainesville for Pete's? Might be a 5 vodka soda morning on game day, followed by 10 waters and a slam you for the sweat. No shame.
I will tell you honestly, I may, because of the pregame party that we're at. By the way, I can tell you, in case you're wondering, where is it? Okay. In case you're wondering, if you're headed up there, as I said, Friday night, all you Hurricane fans, if you're going up to Gainesville like I am, Capone's on Friday night. That is where the big Hurricane pep rally party, whatever you want to call it, are going to be there. Then on Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. at the, hang on, I need my glasses. At 655 Rich Union Drive in Gainesville, the North Lawn at Rich Union. That is where the big Hurricane party is going to be, on the field on Saturday, or in the end over there, orange and green. So Florida apparently is wearing white, which I'm stunned at. I know it's going to be hot, but even they've played in that weather before. They've always worn blue or orange, which is fine. So if you're going up there, Hurricane fans, orange and green, both or either works. Anyway, it is. And then on Saturday, on the North Lawn, Rich Union area, that is where the Hurricane fans are gathering, which is going to be great. So Joey says Capone's in Gainesville going to be rocking. Pete may never be seen again. No, I'm going to take it easy. It's going to be fun. And Saturday, I may have one. I am smart enough. I am not getting even pleasantly buzzed and then going in to sit at that kind of heat at 3:30. I want to enjoy the game. I don't want to, afterwards is a different story. Partying after, win or lose, hopefully win. I think we will win. We, like I've been part of the team forever. But I hope the Hurricanes win. So afterwards, it's just going to be a fun time. It's something on my bucket list. I'm really looking forward to it. Joey also said, keep up the great work, Mia. Freehold loves you.
Freehold, New Jersey.
Gotta love it. Joey says 3-for-1 drinks at Capone's in Gainesville on Thursday nights. Pete needs to head up there one day earlier. Nope. Gotta do the show. 3-for-1 drinks. Only in Florida. Not 2-for-1. 3-for-1.
3-for-1.
Oh, man. All right, Angel, quick break. When we come back, our final guest of the day, Larry Schechter. You've had him on your show before. We're going to talk about his new book, History of Fantasy Sports, and the stories of the people that made it happen. Get into some fantasy football, baseball, whatever it is. All good stuff. Coming up here on the Pete Shepard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak from Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt U.S. Kids.
The Pete Shepard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
Welcome back to the Pete Shepard Show. Here it's Tuesday, the Coastal Sports Network, final segment of this glorious day here in Fort Myers. Already 84 degrees and sunny. Hopefully wherever you are around the country, around the world, it is fine. And joining me, my final guest today, Larry Schechter. He's just written an awesome book, History of Fantasy Sports, and the stories of the people that made it happen. Larry, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All right, so what was your, I know exhaustively researched, I can only imagine. These things are like Bibles to some people. How long was the research process, and why did you decide to do this? Let's start with that.
Well, I've known for a long time somebody needed to write a book like this because I've played fantasy since about 1990, and a lot of times I would just look at what happened with this industry, where people started with some ideas years ago, and it's evolved into this $25 billion worldwide industry with millions and millions of people playing everything from fantasy football to fantasy Iditarod, fantasy sumo wrestling. It's like, and you got 24/7 Sirius XM radio. You got all these news services, stat services. I mean, it's this huge thing. I'm like, where did this come from? How did this happen? So I've kind of thought for years somebody should write a book like this, and I finally decided to do it. And when I started, I thought this is something I could probably knock out in like 3-4 months, and I was crazy wrong about that. I spent 18 months as basically a full-time job researching and interviewing people, and I could have gone longer if I wanted to, but it was too much. So it was a huge job. But as I was doing it, very early on, I knew this is going to be really good because I started out with the idea, the history of fantasy sports, who did what, when, how did it all happen? And I realized early on when I started getting information that I could write it like that and it would tell the whole story, but it would also come off as a very boring research paper. But I started to learn really interesting stories about people and what they had done. And so I realized I tell their stories, I can make the book, tell everything, but also be very interesting. That's where I got the subtitle for the book. The book is called The History of Fantasy Sports and the Stories of the People Who Made It Happen. So that's what has made the book really, really interesting and easy read. And I'm saying based on the reviews are fantastic. People are saying it's easy to read. It's fascinating. The Midwest Book Review said it's fascinating from start to finish. And the stories are amazing.
I got to ask you, my first really delve into fantasy sports was a teenager. I'm 57 years old, but we'll get to baseball. Fantasy baseball, I think, was really what got everything going, and football evolved after that. But my first, I don't know if you ever did, we played Stratomatic. We played Stratomatic baseball, we played Stratomatic basketball, Stratomatic football, Stratomatic hockey. And it had all the players and somewhat, numbers of projected stuff. You can't base anything on heart or, injuries or anything like that. But that was my first induction into fantasy sports. We would have drafts, dare I say, for a couple of shekels here and there as teenagers. And, we had massive NBA drafts, NFL drafts, and baseball drafts that to me started it. It was fun. And then when it evolved after that, especially baseball, not like you started to be some fantasy baseball teams, not football necessarily, but baseball back in the 90s. That's when it really exploded. Fantasy baseball, I like a lot of the younger people don't understand. Fantasy baseball was it in the beginning. And then football really has taken over. Do you agree?
Yeah. And, the difference with Stratomatic and also there was APA baseball.
Yes.
The difference with that is that those are based on what players did in the previous season.
Correct.
And the fantasy sports we're talking about is based on performance that hasn't happened. So when I first started to write the book, I thought, I'll probably have like a very short section in the beginning about what people say. Some people say are the precursors to fantasy, which would include Stratomatic and APA. But when I started researching, it ended up being like pretty much an entire chapter because, there are amazing stories about Stratomatic and APA. Like there's a guy who, first of all, there are people who've been in leagues for years. Like there are people in APA and Stratomatic leagues who've been in leagues for 50 years. Like college friends that thought, when you graduate college, friends tend to drift apart. Mm-hmm. So this one guy in New Jersey thought, I want to create something so that people will stay together. And so they had this league that's been going for 50 years. And there's a guy who was in an APA league who, after years and years and years, he got ALS.
Oh.
But his wife helped him to continue playing in the league even with ALS. A couple of years later, he got to the point where he could only communicate through an eye reader and a computer, and his wife reading his lips. And in this condition, his team came from 2 runs behind in extra innings to win his first ever, after 40 years, APA World Series. And he burst into tears, and everybody in the room burst into tears. And I've got stories like the Baltimore Orioles on a West Coast flight. John Miller, the radio announcer for the Orioles,
awesome guy,
who was playing Stratomatic with Bobby Bonilla and Mike Flanagan, I think it was. And Cal Ripken Jr. comes walking by and is like, "What's this?" And I said, "Stratomatic." And Cal says, "Let me play." So Cal plays a game against John Miller, and he loses.
Yeah.
And he goes to the back of the plane and sits with his dad, Cal Ripken Sr., who was a coach. And he takes the score sheet. He goes over the score sheet with his dad. He comes back like 30 minutes later to John Miller. He's like, "All right, I think I know where I screwed up. Let's play another game."
That's awesome. I mean, that's
and I could right now. I could rattle off. I could literally rattle off 10 more stories right now about Stratomatic. So
yeah, we'd stay for hours. It'd be 12 hours playing. You wouldn't even realize it, and they're like, "Jesus, we got to go to bed at some time." It's crazy.
So Stratomatic's like throughout the book. It had a huge impact on people. Like I think it was a 1981 baseball strike. The All-Star game was canceled. They set up a Stratomatic board at home plate in Cleveland Stadium where the All-Star game was supposed to be. And Rocco Scotti sang the national anthem, and they played a Stratomatic game instead of the All-Star game.
Unbelievable. I want to get more into your book as far as the research. How did, no matter what sport it is, you tell me, about the origin, the genesis of the formulas that came up for all these fantasy sports. Somebody just didn't pick numbers out of their brain for all these different sports. That must have been a fascinating part of the book to find out how these formulas were formed, quite frankly.
When you say formulas, you mean like the formats of games?
Yeah, the format. Yeah, why this is a point for baseball or football.
Right.
different formulas for sport.
They evolved just based on really people's ideas. Like fantasy football actually began before baseball. It was in 1963. Bill Winkenbach started a league, and they basically had points just for touchdowns. And then over time, people would say, "Well, that's kind of stupid." I mean, you got O.J. Simpson runs for 100 yards, then doesn't score a touchdown, and then Pete Banaszak gets a 1-yard touchdown plunge, and you get some people started adding yardage, and then the whole thing just evolved. There's a company in Canada called SportsSmart. Now, one thing about this book, people, everything that I learned in the book, I only knew like maybe 1% of it when I started writing the book, and some of what I thought I knew was wrong. And people just don't know what happened. I've got like Paul Charchian, for example. He was the president of the Fantasy Sports Trade Association from 2009 to 2020. So the guy has been in the industry his whole life. He's been the head of the FSTA for 12 years. He read the book and he's like, "Wow, I didn't know a lot of this. These stories were fascinating." People just don't know about what people did. And there's one company in Canada that very few people ever heard of. It's called SportsSmart. And what they did is Canada, going back to like the 70s or maybe even earlier, people in Canada had these things called hockey pools where they select some players and they get like a point for a goal or point for an assist. But they could only do it, with like maybe 10, 12 friends because there are only so many players you could take. So these couple of guys that got this idea to start a new game where they thought, well, let's do a checkbox game. So what they did is they would take all the players, relevant players in the NHL, and they group them together by ability. And they'd say, okay, you got 20 groups of 4 people. You select one person from each group, and that's your player. What that did is that allowed massive amounts of people to play the game at once instead of limiting it to like 10 friends. So they got a newspaper in Edmonton. They got the Edmonton Oilers and a newspaper in Edmonton to kind of back the game. and they started getting thousands and thousands of entries. They ended up expanding to more newspapers, to U.S. papers, to other games besides just hockey. And they had 1 million people at one time playing these games all over Canada and the U.S. Like nobody pretty much ever heard of this company. They had 1 million people playing back years ago.
Whose phone is that? Whoever that phone is, can somebody silence it? I don't know whose phone. I don't know. It's somebody's phone. Anyway, all right. Let's get. But the thing is, would you have ever? I mean, you started playing. I started playing in the late '80s, early '90s, some sort of fantasy, and now we have a bunch of services. But did you ever think it would evolve into FanDuel and DraftKings and that, and what a big business it has become? Did you ever foresee that?
No, very very few people foresaw that. I interviewed dozens and dozens of key people in the industry, and also like people who weren't key people in the industry, just maybe somebody who had like a Stratomatic league I thought something was interesting about or whatever. But most of them, I would say, okay, looking back now at when you began, would you envision this? And most of them would say, no, I would not have imagined this. A lot of them just started they thought it'd be like a part-time job to get some extra money or it'd be fun. There were a couple of people. I can't remember off the top of my head. It might have been Ian Allen from Fantasy Football Index magazine. Maybe just a few people that would say, yeah, I did envision it would be really big because fantasy is so great. That I did envision it. But most people know.
Yeah. All right. Now, what about my buddy Field Yates? I'm sure you've seen the video of him in Bermuda. If you haven't, it's hysterical. About I've had him on my program for the last 8 years, and once a week. He's fantastic. But the extreme of going to see who picks first in the draft. I don't know if you saw the video, Larry. Him in Bermuda, and they had to go through a tackling dummy and tackle. He ended up dislocating his shoulder. He ended up in the hospital. It was a big joke about it. Adam Schefter posted all this stuff. But the extremes of people in some of these leagues, has it gotten a little out of control? And if you lose, the humiliation that goes along with it and what they make you do, worse than a lot of college hazing pranks back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, that started in the very beginning when Bill Winkenbach formed the first fantasy football league in 1963 with like a dozen or so guys, whatever it was, and he started that tradition right off the bat. He personally carved something. I forget exactly what it was. It was like some little kind of like statue type thing, but with a dunce cap on it. And whoever finished in last place had to take this trophy with a dunce cap and display it in their house for a year, and then they could pass it off to the next year's last place finisher.
Well, I mean, the dunce cap is nothing compared to. Well, I mean,
it's nothing compared to what some people do. Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
it's
point
great.
is that this tradition started. This guy, right from the very first fantasy
Wow.
football league ever, he started that
That's
immediately.
amazing. 1963. That is absolutely amazing. Now, how many leagues are you in? You do? You want to league with a bunch of guys? Do you play FanDuel or DraftKings? See, for me, I've been in fantasy football leagues before. I've been in fantasy baseball leagues before. The thing about fantasy football, I don't have the time. I'm a huge football fan, but to watch the waiver wire, you got to consider, bye weeks and all of that stuff. And I don't have the time for that. That's why I like to make sure the injury report is solid. So that's why I wait till, Sundays at 10 o'clock, the injury reports come out. Then I go to my FanDuel and DraftKings account and do that. I feel it's much more easier to make money but some of these leagues are, talking thousands of dollars and, with a bunch of guys. Some people put up $2,000 and there's 4 or 5 guys on a team. It is amazing. But how much fantasy football do you play?
Well, personally, I play fantasy baseball and fantasy football, I'm like in about 5 to 7 baseball leagues and 5 to 7 football leagues each year. I used to do basketball, but I cut that out a while ago. And what you just said, that's the reason why daily fantasy became really popular, is because a lot of people are, like fantasy, but they just don't want to make the time commitment. The season-long leagues, it takes 6 months or whatever of baseball, 18 weeks of football, and fab every week, and it's a big time commitment. A lot of people love it. I love it, but a lot of people, it's too much. So that's why daily has become so popular.
All right, let's again. Larry Sector just wrote a new book, History of Fantasy Sports and the Stories of the People That Made It Happen. I want to get a copy. I haven't read it yet. I've seen some of the excerpts. It seems really fascinating to me. I love this kind of stuff. I love all-time history in sports. I did not realize the first fantasy team started in 1963. I never would have guessed that. But tell people, Larry, how they can get your book.
It's available on most booksellers online, paperback and ebook. Amazon's probably the easiest to get it, and the best price. And people, the reviews are fantastic. I mean, if you go on Amazon and read the reviews, they're just fantastic. I'm very proud of it. Everyone who likes fantasy is going to absolutely love the book. And even people who have never played fantasy have read some of them have read the book and really like it, because it's not just about fantasy, but it's about the stories of these people and what they did, which is really fascinating. You got, besides this guy with ALS, you got a guy, there's a guy who was on his honeymoon in the World Trade Center on 9/11. And his story of getting out of this hotel and surviving 9/11 is pretty remarkable. And it's not in the book just as this gratuitous thing because it's so interesting. It's in the book because this event actually started some circumstances that led to him getting involved in the fantasy industry. And the guy's now like one of the key people in the fantasy industry.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Larry, it's a pleasure. Great stuff. And we'll have you on again soon. Love talking about the history of this stuff. It fascinates a lot of people. And this is the biggest week in fantasy football for draft parties. Every bar or everybody's house is filled this week with, lots of partying. But it's a huge deal this week across the United States and around the world.
Yep. It's the same thing back in like 1970, like, the Wake Bucks first football league led this other guy who owned a bar to make the fantasy football available to his patrons at the bar. And that really grew to the point where he had like 7 leagues going and draft nights and Sunday nights. I mean, his bar was packed with people just talking trash about football back in 1970, back in the late 60s and 70.
All right, Larry, all the best. And we'll have you on again soon and continue success with the book and everything else. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All righty. There he is, Larry Schechter, joining us here on the Pete Shepard Show on the Coastal Sports Network. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. God, 1963, I never would have guessed it. I remember it just, fantasy baseball is another one. And then you're at the mercy, when you play in these other leagues that are not FanDuel and DraftKings, but they're not daily sport, you're at the mercy of the injury bug, and that's the thing. The injury bug or holdouts or anything else. But Angel Martinez, we're just about done here today, but good stuff. Good stuff as always.
Yeah, and the phone accidentally, apparently somebody was calling and I couldn't get it to stop ringing through the studio line. So
that's okay. No, well, you had that, and I had my people doing right outside the.
Yeah, I think they switched. I think they switched now to Wednesdays. They used to come on Tuesdays. Now they seem to be switched to Wednesdays.
They switched mine to Tuesdays. That's not switching. That's Tuesday. But they were here yesterday too. All right. What's coming up on the network today before we get out of here?
Let's see what's today. Today's Tuesday, so nothing major going on as far as the network today. Q will be back tomorrow, so he'll get into a lot of betting aspects of things. So he'll be back tomorrow, 3 to 5. Nice. I will be back tomorrow as well, as I have a couple of things to get done as I normally do here on the network. But not too much going on. And then there'll be some lineups, changed lineups you guys will end up seeing on the schedule if you visit the website, sr1029thegame.com. And don't forget also, you can download the app straight and directly from the website.
All right. Thanks to all my guests today. Just heard Larry Schechter. Thanks to Mia O'Brien and Bill Burke. Great show. More great guests lined up for you tomorrow. Back I can preview. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So we got Bill Sparrow's coming up tomorrow at 8:30 and John Meade Perrell at 9:05. It's going to be a great show. Thanks to Angel Martinez for all his support, exec producing and hosting, co-hosting all this stuff. A couple of messages out there before I say goodbye. If Hurricanes win, pizza, he may celebrate at the Villages in Ocala. No, loofers are pink after a big game. No. Joey says, thanks, fellas. Have a fantastic day. Rick says, I'll be back tomorrow, too. Thank you, kind friends and countrymen. Always appreciate it. And I'll be back tomorrow as well at 7 a.m.
Jay.
Oh, go ahead.
Jay chimes in towards the very end of the show. You'll be on Thursday. That's going to be a great time on Thursday.
We'll be on Thursday along with Wig. Jay's on at 8:30. Wig is on at 9:05. And then on Friday, Jimmy the Beef Guy at 9:05. Follow the lead in Catherine Tappan, who will be in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Yes, that one, the world famous Catherine Tappan. We'll talk some Michigan and Fresno State and other things, college football. She's also a great hockey gal as well, as most of you know. But working with NBC now, she's fantastic. One of my all-time favorite people. So great shows coming up this week on the Pete Shepherd Show on the Coastal Sports Network. I am Pete. Jay says, thank you, guys. Bye.